One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
How we doing? Oh, me. It is great to see this beautiful group and to be here in Newport News. And I want to thank all of you for what you do. That's why we're here. That's why we're launching the Arsenal of Freedom Tour. It's about all of you. Some of you are wearing a uniform. Some of you are not. All of you are wearing hard hats, and all of you are contributing to the warfight. The kind of urgency that we need is you understand the speed and the specificity of the beautiful machines that you create require an expertise and an investment that this administration is prepared to make and make fast. It's always inspiring to stand amongst patriots who quite literally are building our nation's firepower. I had a chance this morning to swear in some new recruits. We have a historic recruiting surge at the Department of War. Record amounts of Americans want to join our uniform class. Last year was a record of multiple decades. This year we're already ahead of last year. Americans are fired up to serve. I also had a chance to go to our next aircraft carrier, the JFK. I don't know if you heard of our aircraft carrier's been busy recently. That one will be busy for decades to come, ensuring that America is free, safe, and powerful. And now here we are at Newport News Shipyard at the USS Oklahoma. And I'm here on behalf of the President, who has, from his first day in office, operated on a few core principles at the baseline: pure, unadulterated common sense. First, that a leader's primary duty is to put America and Americans first. Second, that the surest and only real path to peace, it is through strength. We're in the strength business. You are in the strength business. And third, that a nation that cannot build peace, a nation that can't create its own tools or its own defenses or its own future, is a nation that is in managed decline. President Donald J. Trump looked at that managed decline, a decline that had been accepted by elites in both parties, and he rejected it. and we fundamentally reject it. And in doing so, he has unleashed a great American revival and a reawakening of our industrial spirit and our national confidence, a new golden age for America that you are all a part of building. As his Secretary of War, my mission is to execute President Trump's vision within our armed forces and ignite that revival. The mission has three core components, three pillars upon which we are building our national security. It's actually quite simple. First, we're reviving the warrior ethos inside our fighting force. We're reminding our warriors that are in uniformed military that their sole purpose is just to be the most lethal fighting force on the planet. So no more DEI, no more dudes in dresses, no more distractions. We're done with that shit. We've hit the happy. It's just standards, accountability, readiness, training, discipline, and lethality. Back to basics across the department, which is what our warriors really want. Second, we must, and we are rebuilding our military with the best equipment, training, and leadership to ensure our warfighters are never in a fair fight. And you're seeing historic investments over $1 trillion in the last budget. They'll see even more, and it isn't just in platforms, it is in people. And third, we're reestablishing deterrence. That is so absolute, it is so unquestioned that our enemies will not dare to test us. You see, under the previous administration, whether it was the debacle of the withdrawal in Afghanistan, the cost of American lives, the smear of our reputation, whether it was the war unleashed in Israel after October 7th by Hamas, or the war in Ukraine, it never would have started under President Trump. The world started wondering whether America really was strong, whether America really could lead. Well, that's over now. Just ask the Houthis and our ship that now sail freely. Imagine that. Under the previous administration, our ships got shot at. We just said, I guess we have to deal with it. All the way back to Thomas Jefferson, we said, we're not shooting at our ships, and if you do, you may not see tomorrow. And we did that with the Houthis, and our ships now sail freely all around the world without being attacked, without being shot at. That's decent constraint. Same with Midnight Hammer, where our B-2s flew 37 hours down and back, and we were never seen by the Iranians and dropped 14 precision munitions exactly where they were supposed to drop, obliterating Iran's nuclear capabilities, not to mention the Tomahawks that came off of a beautiful submarine. And delivered that decisive blow as well on one of their nuclear facilities. Deterrence is back. Not to mention drug boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific carrying drugs headed to the United States to poison American people. We're not playing the whole catch and release game anymore. These are foreign terrorist organizations, the Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, and we will sink every drug boat headed in our direction. Reestablishing deterrence. Our southern border, which allowed an invasion of people we didn't know who they were in the previous administration, 7 months of zero crossings at our border. A country that isn't sovereign is not a country. Reestablishing deterrence. And then we saw 3 nights ago in downtown Caracas, Venezuela, as nearly 200 of our greatest Americans went downtown in Caracas. Seeing those Russian airbases didn't quite work so well, did they? Downtown Caracas, grounded an indicted individual wanted by American justice in support of law enforcement without a single American killed. Reestablishing deterrence. Thank you. Because of President Trump's leadership, the world is taking notice. They're noticing American power, they're noticing American strength, they're noticing American clarity and leadership, and you are at the core of ensuring that happens. Everything we're doing is aimed at those goals. And that's why just before Christmas, and a while ago, I had the privilege of joining President Trump and the Secretary of the Navy for a historic announcement, the creation of the Golden Fleet. The Golden Fleet is the Navy's investment to revitalize America's maritime industrial base and rapidly build and sustain the fleet and fundamentally change how we do business and maintain military supremacy. This new battle fleet, anchored by a new generation of Trump-class battlefights, is a declaration to the world that our command of the seas is and will remain non-negotiable. That announcement, along with the incredible vital work being done right here is a generational commitment to American sea power. This investment in both the visible might of battleships and the stealthy lethality of the submarines built in this very yard is a direct investment in peace and strength. It's an investment in the future fight, ensuring that America has the tools to win any conflict, anywhere, any time. And as was mentioned, today marks the first stop on a month-long Arsenal of Freedom tour from the War Department. And on this tour, we'll be traveling from the shipyards of the coast to the factories of the heartland to see the work being done by the military and our partners in American manufacturing to usher in a new golden age of peace and strength, a revival of our industrial base, all American-made by the best Americans. We know that our treasured freedoms are only as secure as our arsenal is strong, and nothing is more important than securing that freedom. So I'm here to thank you, the men and women assembled here today, and those you represent, who are designing and constructing our weapons of war that my children and yours, my grandchildren and yours, will rely upon to ensure the peace, stability, and security of the United States. You are standing shoulder to shoulder with the warfighters of the War Department. Allow me for a moment to speak plainly about the threats to that freedom. We find ourselves in a world of growing threats, a world the comfortable elites in Washington refuse to acknowledge for far too long. For decades, a bipartisan consensus sold this country a dangerous fantasy. They told us that history was over, that the rise of peer competitors is a relic of the past, and that we can afford to trade out our industrial might, our factories, our jobs.
I'm not sure what the hell that was, but he just got blipped off for a second. It's back on right now. I'll be back in like 5 minutes or so. Hang tight.
Not anymore. Not under President Trump. While we were policing the world, nation-building in deserts, and debating pronouns at the Pentagon, our primary competitors, like the Chinese Communist Party, did something very different. They studied us, they learned from our triumphs and our mistakes, and then they started to build as well. And they've undertaken some of the most rapid, ambitious, and breathtaking naval buildups since World War II. While we decommissioned ships, they launched many of them. While some of our shipyards did not meet the demands of our country, they expanded at a rapid pace, but not anymore. While we seek good relations with China and the rest of the world, we are also ready. President Donald Trump understands that the American people are ready and they deserve a new golden age. We recognize that we are in a new era of great power competition, a generational struggle to maintain peace through strength, and we will rise to meet that challenge. That is why we proudly call ourselves the Department of War, not the Department of Defense. Not because we seek war, but because we truly understand that in order to ensure peace, you need to be prepared to deter war and, if necessary, decisively win it. Our purpose is not to be reactive, but to be dominant, so that no enemy, any enemy, will ever attempt to challenge the United States of America. Now, this survival is not a matter of speeches or policy papers or think tanks and white papers in Washington, D.C. This is a matter of action. Across the entire War Department, we are developing new operational concepts. We're deploying cutting-edge technologies at a speed that's not been seen in generations. And we're making historic multi-generational investments in the capabilities that we will need to dominate the future fight at a level of urgency that must match the urgency of the moment. Most importantly, we're getting these capabilities in the hands of our warfighters faster than we ever have since World War II. Under President Trump, we are systemically dismantling the bloated, risk-averse, and self-serving bureaucracy that has stifled innovation for decades. We're streamlining our requirements and acquisition process, cutting through red tape. This is not the same old reform that is always talked about in Washington, but instead it's an overhaul. It's revolutionary. It is a renaissance of American manufacturing. I've made it crystal clear to the entire defense industry, which I didn't come from and I didn't work for, so I don't give a damn who wins. I just want the best. We've been clear, the era of rewarding delays and cost overruns is over. The days of cost-plus contracts for programs that are years behind schedule are finished. We will no longer give longer, larger, more predictable contracts to companies that deliver on time and on budget. Companies that invest in their people, that invest in more capability and more capacity, not companies that invest in stock buybacks or CEO salaries or dividends. For those who can't adapt, who are too comfortable with the old, slow ways of doing business, we wish them well in their other future endeavors. Because we will find new partners who will adapt, who will invest, who will take care of their people, who will move at speed and at scale. We will reward that speed, that scale, that innovation, and that performance. We're not rewarding process, paperwork, or just the C-suite. This submarine behind me, and the many more that will follow it, is an embodiment of our commitment to and investment in the security of the American people. But it also represents something more profound. It represents national confidence. Confidence in American shipbuilding, confidence in our industrial discipline, and confidence in the United States Navy's ability to deliver the combat power needed in the future fight. The work you do here every single day is the leading edge of that national restoration. You are proving to the world, and more importantly to ourselves, that it can be done. The history is not over, that we build and that we invest. The media should take a long look at this vessel, the USS Oklahoma. This Virginia-class submarine is a paragon of American engineering and fighting spirit. It is the apex predator of the undersea domain, the most advanced and lethal submarine ever built. As our president says, and he's right, we're 20 years ahead of anybody else in this domain. It is a strategic advantage that creates dilemmas on a daily basis for our adversaries all around the globe.
I could listen to him literally for hours, but we got some business to take care of. President Trump is due up in 10 minutes. Excuse me. We don't know if he'll actually be on time, but nonetheless, good morning. Welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in early. If you were with us last night, some of us didn't get to bed until like 1 o'clock in the morning because we were up last night and I was telling you about some of the stuff that President Trump had been posting furiously on True Social. It was very eye-opening for many people. If you didn't see last night's video, make sure you go over to Rumble and check that out because I could never post that here on YouTube. It is all about the 2020 election and what may be indeed coming. I don't think that's what today's speech is about, but nonetheless, wanted to let you know as we do some previewing here. Caroline Leavitt posted that today at 10 a.m., President Trump will give remarks to the House Republican Conference to kick off 2026, and quote, "You won't want to miss it." So that made me realize something must be dropping. See, I hadn't planned on doing the 10 o'clock. I figured, he's going to be talking and I'll do my normal 12:30 or 1 o'clock show and I'll show it taped what he says. But when I saw what she said, that make sure you tune in, okay, maybe we're going to drop some nuggets. So I went to Grok, whether or not you can trust Grok. People are asking, what is today's speech going to be about? And Grok has returned this information based on recent reports from sources like Fox News and the AP. Expect Trump to focus on U.S. intervention in Venezuela and Maduro's capture, tout administrative wins, discuss 2026 priorities like tax reform and border security, and rally Republicans for the midterms. Tune in for the full remarks. Excuse me. I think it's got to be a little bit more bombastic. It's got to have a lot more oomph to it for Caroline Leavitt to say, don't miss this. I don't know what they're not calling me and saying, hey, Barry, here's what we're going to be talking about. So I don't know what they're going to be going through, but let me show you a couple of things that President Trump himself posted. He posted this. Soon leaving, I will soon be leaving the White House to speak to House Republicans, who I truly love almost all. I think he's talking about Massey, at the Trump Kennedy Center. That's interesting. That's interesting. You have to think about it. He's not doing it at the White House. He's not doing, well, the ballroom's not ready. He's not doing it in the House. He's going to do this at the Kennedy Center. I don't know. Don't know why. I know it's big. It probably has enough to seat 200 people. Where I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars to make it the best performing arts center anywhere in the world. Dude's always promoting. A year ago, it was in a state of financial and physical collapse. Wait until you see it a year from now. Like our country itself, it will rise from the ashes. MAGA President DJT. Okay, a little self-promotion. Don't miss the opportunity while people are looking. And he talks about that. What else did I want to show you from him? This might be something he's getting ready to talk about. It says, California under Governor Gavin Newsom is more corrupt than even Minnesota, if that's possible. The fraud investigation of California has begun. This was posted at 8:21 this morning, as you can see on your screen. So some sort of fraudulent task force investigation has been launched on California now. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So we've got Minnesota, where they sent 2,000 people from the Department of Justice to go swamp in and surge into Minnesota. 2,000. They're going to be going to every single one of these daycare, autistic centers, home learning, transportation, and dig it in. If you got money, they're going to come in and open the books. This isn't Nick Shirley. You just can't hide and say, no, go away, get out of here. Now the big boys are coming in. The big boys are coming into Minnesota. Looks like, I don't know, California might be next, but with 2,000 agents descending upon Minnesota, that's some serious, serious stuff. Now, you understand that Tim Walz yesterday decided he was not going to run for re-election. That's not enough. People are calling for his resignation, and they're looking for whatever comes up in this investigation, because the Democrats are going to try some trickery. They are definitely going to try some trickery. They're going to let him probably try to resign, maybe put Amy Klobuchar in there, where she would then vacate the Senate. Then she would appoint Tim Walz to be in the Senate. In order to stop that, they have to arrest him. They have to indict Tim Walz, because all Amy Klobuchar is going to do is put him into the Senate. These people are scumbags. They're corrupt, beyond corrupt, and they all right now are complicit in this thing. Listen to this, what Dana Perino said. I could not believe this when I heard this.
I think he's got a real problem, because he might have been the first shoe to fall, but there's more coming. Because Keith Ellison, who is the Attorney General of Minnesota, former congressman who is a member of Democratic leadership, he is on audio, leaked audio, talking to these people, telling that he will cover up the investigations, telling that they'll tell the investigators to back off. So
get this straight. The governor had to stop his campaign for the next election because of what has been uncovered. Now we're getting an audio tape where Keith Ellison, you remember the guy who put up the Antifa book and has been doing everything he can to destroy America as well. Now they have an audio tape where he comes out and tells them, don't worry about everything. We'll take care of it. he actually participated in the cover-up. This is not going to go well for Minnesota. I'm going to tell you something after she finishes.
This resignation or decision not to run, not a resignation, but the decision not to run is not the end of the story. The fraud story doesn't end there. To me, it's really just beginning. And thankfully, there's a very good prosecutor in the state that is relentless. So hopefully they'll get it cleaned up.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine once people start digging into these states, Illinois, Minnesota, New York, California, and they start digging into what has been done? I'm not even talking about the voting machines. I'm just talking about the theft, the billions and billions and billions of dollars that these people have stolen from Americans. What is going to turn up? It makes sense now why these people are so resistant to President Trump. And I got to tell you, I've been looking around on X all night yesterday. All day yesterday, early this morning, and I'm seeing the same BS panicans who are talking the same BS crap about how the midterms are lost. And I'm like, you don't even know what's coming tomorrow. You're telling us what you think is going to happen in November, and you're completely oblivious to what's going on. You're asking the wrong questions if you think the Republicans aren't going to win the midterms. Matter of fact, maybe you shouldn't even be polling right now. Most people right now have no idea what this man and his administration are going to do from day to day. I try to keep up as best I can. I better make sure I take all my vitamins because I texted SB last night and he's like, oh my gosh, you tell me 10 o'clock tomorrow? 10 o'clock tomorrow, we're back at it. I don't know what today holds. I don't know if we're going to do a show later. It just keeps changing. And so when you see the panicans out there and you see the grifters, you understand they are just trying to sift for engagement. They realize at this point, the way Elon has things set up with the monetization, it doesn't matter if people are pissed off. It doesn't matter if they agree. Just keep clicking, because the more you click, the more people make. The more you share their crap, the more they make. Even though X's monetization isn't going to, won't make a car payment for most of them, depending on what kind of car they have. But nonetheless, that hook that they have is to try and get out there and fish for so many people. And they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela, she just got sworn in. President Trump is saying, if you don't do what we're saying, something worse than what happened to Maduro is going to happen to you. The only thing worse than going to jail for the rest of your life is not having a life. So I don't know what kind of threat that was. I don't know if that was intimidation, but nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I showed you last night, if you guys weren't on the show last night, that the grand jury was impaneled for January 12th. Next Monday, the grand jury, two separate grand juries are being impaneled in Florida. One in Fort Lauderdale, the other one in Fort Pierce. Heavy red areas. And supposedly this is where Obama and Clapper and Brennan and who knows who else is going to be looked at by a grand jury. So if the grand jury is looking at people on January 12th, it's conceivable by January 19th, January 26th, February 1st, we could have some major indictments coming. You know, we're always talking about, look where that puck is going. Well, bottom line is if they're impaneling two different grand juries in the state of Florida, federal grand juries, on the 12th of January, then you have to realize more than likely we are going to see some indictments come flowing out of those two grand juries within a couple weeks. And since nobody knows even who they're investigating, how can you possibly understand where things are headed? I am fully fully supportive of President Trump, and I also completely believe at this point he is out to destroy the Democrats, not to win, not to eke out a victory. This man is trying to destroy the Democrat Party. Take the Democrat Party and put it on a shelf and let it collect dust. I believe that is the objective here. You know why I believe that? He said it. Remember, I keep playing it. Gonna play it again.
When I get back into the Oval Office, I will totally obliterate the deep state. They will be obliterated.
If you remember that, and you continue to remember that, and you watch what's happening, if you watch the entire playing surface of what's going on and how it's playing out, and you think back to yourself, the man said, when I get back in office, he didn't say I'm going to win. He didn't say I'm going to continue to be a thorn in the side of the Democrats. I'm not going to try to overcome some of the races. I'm going to obliterate them. And I don't understand how people aren't understanding that this is what his plan is. His plan isn't to make nice. His plan isn't to, get along with the Democrats and the deep state. His plan is to obliterate them. And so when you're taking a poll and you're talking to people, unless they understand the perspective of what he's trying to do, you're completely missing it. And the problem is there aren't a whole lot of people who understand what Trump's endgame is. The media is not telling people. Hopefully some of you guys are. But if you don't know what your opponent's endgame is, how can you prepare for it? How can you analyze it? How can you even talk about it if you don't know what he plans on doing? That's just basically flying blind. That's just ignoring what's happening. When he put his business plan together to build Trump Tower, there are certain levels and things that you do as you're going up. First and foremost, you got to make sure you've got a foundation. It has to withstand and hold up this structure. And for the last 12 months, he's been building that foundation. What do we need to do to make sure the entire pillar here stays standing? And if you follow from a real estate perspective, from a business perspective, you have to have that first. You have to know, well, first of all, you got to have a plan. Then you have to have the people around you who can execute your plan. And then you want to make sure, as he said in Sun Tzu, Art of War, you want to make sure you execute stealthily. You don't want everybody to know what's going on. So the only thing that we do know is his plan is to obliterate the deep state. And everything from there is just building blocks. I got this here. Now I got to do the Western Hemisphere stuff, and I'm going to do the Monroe Doctrine, and I'm going to proclaim the Trump corollary, and I'm going to protect all of this because basically I'm taking half the world. And I know these countries like Bermuda and the Cayman Islands and Dominican Republic, they're not a threat. Who are my threats? Who do I have to basically neutralize so that whoever the threats are, is Greenland a threat? Nope, we'll just take care of them. Canada a threat? No, they're not a threat. Who are the threats? And if we neutralize the people who are threats, then we've got a firm foundation of what we're going to be doing. Because obviously if China and Russia have any sort of insight as to what they want to do in the rest of the world, we have to make sure they can't. So what you heard last night was everything from why this is important. He laughed at the rare earth. People are still trying to pinpoint what exactly you're doing in Venezuela is because they're not following his plan. If your plan is basically semi-world domination, not world domination, he didn't give a shit about Europe and Asia. He's looking for semi-world domination. I just made that up, by the way. Sounds pretty good. Semi-world domination. I kind of like that. I think I'll keep using it. You can use it. Yeah, I've given you my permission. You may now use semi-world domination. That's our objective. How do you dominate? How do you take over in a complete region? Well, you look for obliteration of the people who are your enemies. And we're just now sitting at the beginning of all this. And it's funny, even CNN, I don't put too much credence in polls whatsoever. But it's very interesting how certain pollsters don't get what's happening, and they're even beginning to see right now there's a sea change. They can't figure it out, but there's something happening.
Okay, U.S. military ousting Maduro. Pre-ousting, what you saw was the clear plurality of Americans opposed at 47%, just 21% support. Come over to this side of the screen. After the ousting, look at that. The support through the roof. Now we're talking about 37%, well within the margin of error right here of the opposition, 38%. It turns out Americans like what they deem to be successful foreign policy operations. And in this case, they view the ousting of Maduro, at least up to this point, as a successful one, and therefore the support way up.
Yeah.
Now, here's why it's not higher, if we're going to use their numbers. The reason why it's not higher, because everybody in the media is trying to downplay it. Everybody in the media is trying to suppress the victory. Everybody in the media is trying to take away from what Trump has. So the sheep who they call are just reiterating what they've heard. To this date, January 6th, 2026, I've never been called. Robin's never been called. We don't know anybody who's ever been called. See, I think the polling industry has a really big problem because nobody believes what they're doing because nobody can relate to what they're doing. Who in the hell are you calling? Where's the information coming from? And it only happens because you're calling people. Do you ask them this question? Maybe the first question you call to someone about Venezuela is, do you know what Venezuela has been up to? More than likely, if you ask that as your first question, they're like, no, it's Venezuela. Have you known that Venezuela was doing this and doing that and doing the other thing? No. Did you know that Venezuela was involved with Smartmatic and the voting machines? No. Well, if you don't know, how the hell are you asking them the other questions? We got people who are Trump supporters who didn't know stuff like that. How the hell do you expect the rest of the public to know? Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't understand that. I thought everybody knew that Smartmatic was, involved in fixing elections and headquartered in Venezuela and run by a 3-letter agency. I thought everybody knew. Nope, nobody knows that. So if nobody knows that, how are we measuring that in any regard of a poll? When you ask somebody, do you like the way that caviar tastes? How would you answer that if you never had it? If you've never had it, if you don't know anything about the subject matter, how the hell can I have your opinion have any relevance, any at all?
Or underwater, now basically even. What about the idea of putting Maduro on trial here in the United States?
Yeah, part of the reason why I think that the success number is way up, and you saw it here, what was it? It was 26 points in favor of opposition, and now within the margin of error, is because they simply don't like Nicolas Maduro. And in fact, they believe that he should be on trial for drug trafficking. Look at this. 50% of Americans favor compared to just 14% who oppose. So there are very few Americans here who oppose it. Even among
50% are in favor of Maduro being put on trial. 14% say no. Pretty good at math, but I think that comes up to 64. What the hell are the other 36% people doing? What? This is why it doesn't make any sense. You're putting up percentages, hoping that people can't do math when you just look at the screen and go, well, what about the rest of the people? You have 36% unaccounted for. How is that even possible? Even though that might look good for Trump, how is that a relevant poll? Yeah, we polled people today. 36% people didn't have a freaking clue. Maybe in the media, if you poll people and 36% have no idea what the F you're talking about, that should reflect upon you as the media not doing your job. Hey, so what do you think about Maduro going to jail? Who? Maduro from Venezuela. 36%. Meaning 36% of the people you polled don't know anything. Then you should come back and go, before yesterday, before last Wednesday, how many of you knew who Maduro even was? This is the loophole with these polling things that they try to do, is nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. And if they do know, they've been influenced by somebody else. Whether they're watching Fox News, whether they're watching CNN, whether they're watching me, whether they're watching Benny or Patrick Bedet. If that's where you're getting your information and you didn't know about it beforehand, then you're going to be influenced by it, hearing it the first time. Because they never tell people to go do their own homework. All right, the boss is coming out right now. I wonder if he's playing the music.
Direction about what is planned for the next 11 months before the midterms.
It could be a long address, too, by the way. There's a lot to talk about. We would anticipate some message about Venezuela. And then as we get ready for the midterms, 10 months from now, it's going to be significant, too, across the country. So
here he is.
I don't.
Thank you all. We're special people. And I want to just say that, I announced I was coming over here and I said, I love those Republicans, and I meant it. I said, except for maybe a couple I don't love. But the people in this room, I don't know if those couple are here. I don't know. I don't care if they're here or not. But we love you, and you've done an amazing job. You love the country. You're doing what's right for the country. And I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, the most successful House Republican majority in decades. And we did it with not a big majority, right? This was not a big majority, but it's a unified majority, and it's people that know what it takes to make America great again. So together we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomenon. You win the presidency. And we sure as hell are having a successful presidency, I will say that. But even if it's a successful presidency, there's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. So you're all brilliant people. Most of you are in this business longer than me. That makes me smarter than you. Because look where I am, right? No, it doesn't. But I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious. They're vicious people. And they stick together like glue. They don't have a couple of the people that we have. A couple of people, not too many, really very few. And that's why I want to just say that before we go any further, I want to express our tremendous sorrow at the loss of a great member, a great member, Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who passed away yesterday, as you probably have heard. And he was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted to release the water, he'd scream at him. And a true defender of American children. He was a defender of everybody. And our hearts go out to his wife, Jill, and his entire family. He voted with me 100% of the time. And by the way, he wasn't a 3 o'clock in the morning person. Do you know what I mean by that? Where the speaker goes, sir, could you call up? Could you call? I said, what time is it, Speaker? Sir, it's 3 in the morning. Could you make a couple of calls? How many? 9. So I'd start calling 3 in the morning. I said, I shouldn't use any names. I'm just going to create problems. But hi, Jim, and I'm not talking about Jim Jordan. I never had a call 3 in the morning for him. But I said, hi, Jim, how you doing? I just called to say hello, 3 in the morning. Okay, sir. sir, you haven't spoken to me in 3 years, and it's now 3 a.m, so I know what you want. You want my vote? And usually almost always they'd give it, but they wanted to be called. And with Doug, I never had to call. He was with us right from the beginning. I love those guys. I must say I probably love them the best, the guys that I don't have to call. They know we're doing the right thing. I have a couple that are going to be with us all the way, but they just want the call. They want love. They need love. They're more insecure than most of you. It's true. No, most of you are secure people. You're all laughing. No, most of you are secure people. I had a couple say, look, I could have Trump call me all the time. I just have to break his ass a little bit. And he'll be calling. But I appreciate those. We actually had a little party. We opened up a beautiful section of the White House in the Rose Garden, and we had a party for all of those people that I never speak to and vote for me. And, I spoke to Doug, but I didn't speak to him about, never had a problem. And I was really saddened by his passing and was thinking about not even doing the speech in his honor. But then I decided that I have to do it in his honor. I'll do it in his honor because he would have wanted it that way. He would have wanted it that way. He would have said, do that speech. Are you kidding me? Do the speech, big guy. But he was a fantastic person. Man, that was a quick one. I don't know quite yet what happened, but boy, it's a tough one. He was just with us. He was our friend, all of us, every one of us. And I also want to send our best wishes to Congressman Jim Baird and his wife, who are recovering from a car accident. They're going to be okay, but they had a pretty bad accident. And we're praying that they get out of that hospital very quickly. He's going to be fine. She's going to be fine, but it was a bad accident. And I want to thank the man who has been central to so many of our triumphs. He really has been. He's the guy that would call me to make those calls all the time. He's always working. And he's a nice person. He's a high quality person. But I want to tell you, he's a very tough cookie. I've seen both sides. Not often do I have to see the other side because he's just, by nature, he's a very fine religious. I like that. He's a religious person. I like that. I like religious people. It usually means they're more honest. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. I've had some real religious ones that did numbers on me, and I said, I'm going to get them someday. They got me by surprise, but it's usually good, okay, right? And his name is Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson. He has my complete and total endorsement. Stand up, Speaker. So, but it is true. A lot of times they'll say, I wish Mike were tougher. He's tough. He's tough as anybody in the room, actually. But can't be tough when you have a majority of 3. And now, sadly, a little bit less than that. A little bit less than that, maybe. But you can't be Trump. You can't, I want you. You make 10 enemies, 20 enemies. That's the end of that, right? Everybody loves him. I would say there's one person he's given up on. I think he just gave up on this guy. He's so bad. He never votes for us. But no matter how good, he won't vote for us. There's a sickness there. There's something wrong. You can have the greatest bill, the greatest for the country. Forget about for Republicans. Great, great, great for the country. I'm a no vote. We don't even bother calling him at 3 a.m, do we? Huh? But I want to thank another guy who's as tough as they come, because he went through something that none of us have gone through. I went through a little shot, but I get that throbbing feeling every once in a while. But what he went through was incredible. And that Steve Scalise, he got hit hard. Where's Steve? Steve. He's a tough cookie. He was dead. I went to the hospital. His wife was crying so much. She was a mess. Oh, yeah, she loves you. That's the only thing I learned about Steve, that he has a wife who loves him. Because I've gone to hospitals where guys are in bad shape and the wife couldn't care less. She's waiting. She's looking for the next guy. Who's the next guy down the pike? who the hell is the next guy? He's died. I said, that's so bad. Oh, yeah, yeah. I had one where the dog died and the husband died at the same time. I said, it's so sad. Yes, I love this dog so much. She couldn't give it, and the guy left her a fortune. Can you imagine? He shouldn't have left her anything, but she was much more concerned. It's true. Oh, the dog was devastated. The husband, he was like an afterthought. Your wife loves you, Steve. She's a great wife. Another one who has a great wife, Jackie, is Tom Emmer, right? Don't look at you. You have a great wife, but you haven't been tested like these guys. You haven't. We don't want to test her, right? She's incredible. She's a strong, beautiful, great person. She's a great person. She actually liked me at the beginning when we were having little fights. We weren't even having fights. We just didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. And I heard he said something negative about me. He was sort of right about the subject, but you're not supposed to say ever, even though you're right. But Jackie was saying, I'm telling you, he's a great guy. He's good. He's going to be a great president, blah, blah, blah. She was fighting for me. And now I love this guy. He's great. She was right about both of us, I think, right? But Tom has been incredible. He's incredible at what he does. He's a great team player. Your conference chair, Lisa McLean, is so strong and powerful and beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you. And I think their broadcast, we said we don't care if the press comes or not. So when I say that, that means that they're broadcasting all this. And I'm letting my feelings out because it's true. I feel that way about so many people in the room. I could say it about many of the people in the room. Some I don't know as well, but many of the people in the room. They're incredible people. You're incredible what you're doing. We also have another one, Richard Hudson, chairman, NRCC. Richard's always in there. Always with a smile. No matter what's happening, Richard. He always has a smile. He's just a positive guy, smart and positive. Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it. You do a great job. Republican Policy Committee Chairman Kevin Hearn. Kevin, where are you, Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Did a great job. Every one of you got to be proud of yourselves. And basically the entire House Republican Conference. It's been really amazing what you've done. And we're going to give you some ammunition today. I said, I'd love to make a speech. Speaker asked me, would you make a speech? I said, sure. You think Biden would do that? Would you make a speech? What? First of all, people wouldn't ask him to make a speech because it never worked out well, right? Could never find the exits. You finish, look, stare here, stare there, stare here. You could jump off the front if you had to. No matter what he did, he got himself into trouble. So basically, they didn't ask him to, but if he did, it wouldn't be good. But it's good with me because, we have so much ammunition. We have ammunition. The problem is the fake news. That's why I like being on. I'd much rather do live television than do non-live because, when they say, as an example in my speech, peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, peacefully and patriotically. Do you know that the Unselect Committee didn't report it, that I said those words? Do you know that the news never reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol? Do you know they never reported it? It's a scandal. The Unselect Committee never reported that. They never reported that Nancy Pelosi was offered 10,000 soldiers, National Guard soldiers, whatever you want. No, I don't want them. And the mayor. The mayors were in writing. She was more honorable about it. But Nancy got caught when her daughter did a documentary. She's a documentariist. And she has her mother saying, it's my fault. I should have taken the soldiers or something. I saw that in the documentary. I said, whoa, this was a major story. Has she spoken to her daughter since that, But they just, they are vicious people. Even on the attack, And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it, an amazing military. The people are saying, well, thank you. You know, people are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex, 152 airplanes, many. Talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed. Unfortunately, I say that, soldiers. Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many killed. And they knew we were coming, and they were protected, and our guys weren't. You know, our guys are jumping out of helicopters, and you're not protected, and they were. But it was so brilliant. The electricity for almost the entire country was, boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas, there's no electricity. It's not a... The only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise. But it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time. And he's such a bad guy. You know, at some point they should say, you know, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job, their philosophies are so different, but if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, you know, he's a violent guy. He gets up there and he tries to imitate my dance a little bit. But he's a violent guy. And he's killed millions of people. He's tortured. They have a torture chamber in the middle of Caracas that they're closing up. But he's tortured people, and now what they do, the radical left, they actually have people, and it's hard to get them. They're all paid people. Most of these people are paid. You know they're paid when they have brand new, beautiful printed signs by like the highest quality printer, and you have a woman, free Maduro, and the sign is before we even did the attack. You know, free Maduro. Why do you want him freed? I don't know, but he should be free. Oh, she reads the sign. What does that say? It says free. Well, that's what I believe. And, you know, you see the sign. It's like, Lisa, we should all have quality signage like that. The one thing I want their sign maker. The guy is great. He does beautiful signage. You know, the old days was better when they used to write out their own sign, wasn't it? They'd make a sign in the basement. They'd have an old broken board holding up a sign, and it's made with a magic marker, sloppy as hell, and it meant something. But today, when you have that yellow and black, they should use different colors a little bit. But the yellow is a beautiful shade of yellow. No, I want to find out who that is. I want him to work for the Republican campaign. He's much better than our guy, whoever the guy is. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. You know, I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us. Nobody. We don't want to have it. We don't have a discussion, but you read all and you see everything else. Nobody could have done that. Nobody has our weapons. Nobody has the quality of our weapons. The problem is we don't produce them fast enough. We're going to start producing them much faster. We're going to be very tough on the companies. We have the best weapons in the world, but it takes too long to get them, including allies. When allies want to buy them, they have to wait 4 years for a plane, 5 years for a helicopter. We're not letting that happen anymore. We're telling our defense contractors, you're going to start building faster. You know, guy makes... I have a big problem with it. I'm the king. I have sold more Boeings than any human being on earth. They gave me an award, Salesman of the Year. I said, what about Salesman of the in the history of Boeing? I've sold more Boeing planes than any man in history by far, probably over 1,000. Over 1,000 planes. I said, that's the good news. But why should they wait 3-4 years to get a plane? They should build them, get them immediately. The F-35s, it takes too long to get them. The Apache helicopter. I mean, I had India coming to me, sir, I've been waiting 5 years. We're changing it. We're changing it. India ordered 68 Apaches, and Prime Minister Modi came to see me. Sir, may I see you, please? Yes. I have a very good relationship with him. He's not that happy with me because You know, they're paying a lot of tariffs now because they're not doing the oil, but they are. They've now reduced it very substantially, as you know, from Russia. We're getting rich because of tariffs, by the way. I hope everyone understands that. They hate to report. We're going to have over $650 billion poured into our country or coming in shortly because of tariffs. You know, they're finding all of these pockets of money a couple of weeks ago. Sir, we're off by $39 billion. Oh, is that good or bad? Meaning, do we have it or are we short of it? Sir, it's $39 billion that we can't account for. That means we have an extra 39. Yes, sir. I said, well, what are you saying? We just don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. Sir, that tariff doesn't start until September. He said, no. It started about a month and a half ago. Check it. Comes back 25 minutes later. Sir, you were right. It came from tariffs. This never happened to us before, where we find plus 39 billion, not million, plus 39 billion. They were missing. We've taken in $650 billion or shortcoming, and that's because I'm being nice. If I want to be, and we have national security because of tariffs. And frankly, we have a big Supreme Court case. I hope they do what's good for our country. I hope they do the right thing. The president has to be able to wheel and deal with tariffs. Now, if you have the right president, it's good. You have the wrong president, you know, if you have the wrong president, nothing's good. Tariffs are the least of your problems. We found that out for 4 years. We had the worst president, did the worst job. They had the worst policy. We have to even run against these people. Now, I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say, he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody's worse than Obama and the people that surrounded Biden. Not Biden. I don't think it was Biden. He didn't know what the hell was going on, okay? The election was rigged. He had no idea what happened. He still doesn't. The auto pen. And by the way, you ought to make a big deal out of the auto pen. The auto pen was your president. Because most of the things were signed by auto pen. And you're not allowed to do that. I signed very little. Now I just sign everything because it's just so crazy. But, you know, like I had the other day, we elevated a general to 4 stars. I think you should sign that. You know, that's a big deal. A general who did a great job was elevated to 4 stars. And I had the general in, and I signed it in front of him, held it up. You know, you got to sign that. You can't give it to an auto pen. And you can always tell an auto pen. One thing, it has 2 little tiny dots. You know that? 2 little dots. You know what that's from? 2 pins. They go bing, bing. They're wonderful things. But you got to sign it. And the law is you have to sign it. If somebody's, you know, telling the auto pen person, he has to be authorized by the president of the United States. Well, he wasn't. The guy barely knew the president. How many times did you speak to the president, right? He said 2. And they just spoke about the weather. It was like this. But he was never authorized to sign. And I think it's, 95% of the things were signed by AutoPen. You can tell because the AutoPen is a nice, clean signature, and his signature's a mess. The only thing he signed was, which is nice, was Hunter's pardon. That's the only thing that we can find that he signed. Most of it he didn't sign. So somebody's sending papers to sign, and he wasn't the president. First of all, the election was rigged. You ought to have voter ID. You ought to insist on it. You ought to insist on it. Can you imagine? In California, they not only don't have voter ID, but if an official at the voting booths, which they don't have, by the way, because it's all mail, if an official, a voting official, even asks somebody for voter ID, sir, would like to see your identification. Do you come from our country? They put him in jail for tampering with the election. Okay? We got to straighten this out before it gets too crazy. California is more corrupt than any place. California is more corrupt than Minnesota. And I won Minnesota. Well, Tom's going, I think so. Well, it's close. It can't be proportionately, probably nothing's more corrupt, right?
We got to win something.
Yeah, right. He says you got to win. I'll tell you what, I did great there 3 times. I was surprised 3 times Those elections are corrupt. They got you one time too, but I heard a long time ago, but they got you. But they got to straighten those out. But we have to have voter ID. And you know, when you confront a Democrat about voter ID, like in a debate or something, I said it a couple of times with Biden, and just one, they're very embarrassed when they say, we want voter ID, voter identification. The only reason somebody doesn't want that is because they want to cheat. Our elections are crooked as hell. And you can not only win elections over that, and not only win future elections, but you'll win every debate because the public is really angry about it. And you ought to pass the SAFE Act, or whatever you're going to call it. Are we going to SAVE Act or the Save America Act? I think we're going to change the name a little bit. You're going to put that up for a vote? I think everybody in this room certainly should do it. And it's a bad vote for them because they're voting against things like voter ID and other things that are almost equal to voter ID. But when somebody says, no, we don't want voter ID, that means they're crooked. And the public understands it. You win elections with that. But I think it would be really important, Save America Act, if you would put that up for a vote. It's got my total endorsement. And all it is common sense things about the election. And they'll fight it like crazy because they cheat. That's the only way they can win. When you have policy so bad, when you have policy with men and women's sports, and they fight like hell for it. They still are. I saw the other day a person that you know very well, a congressman, was fighting like hell. And, you know, I was out the other day with somebody, and I was with an ex-football player. The guy was massive. His leg was like this. And a young woman who plays flag football. And she's very good, supposedly, as an athlete. She's smaller than this guy's leg. Okay? And if they were playing football together, he wouldn't even have to run. He could just keep walking. They couldn't take him down. You know, the guy, he can't even believe it. But there are so many. They had a race, a long-distance race. They had champion men, women, you know, one of those marathon deals. The man finished 5 hours and 14 minutes and 36 seconds sooner. He beat the champion woman by 5 hours. It's so demeaning to women. It's so ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous. The weightlifting, take a look at the weightlifting records. One record stood for 18 years, and it was broken by 112 pounds. They couldn't get 1/8 of an ounce, you know? They'd put 1/8 of an ounce on. Then she's going to break the record for her mom, who's sitting in the front with her father. I'm going to break it, Dad. And she's out there. We're adding 1/8 of an ounce to each side. This record has stood, ladies and gentlemen, for 18 years. But she's going to do it. She's looking to get into the Olympics, right? And she gets up, and they put a little tiny thing like this, little thing. And my wife, by the way, my wife hates when I do this. She said, you know, she's a very classy person, right? She said, it's so unpresidential. I said, but I did become president. You know, she hates when I dance. I said, everybody wants me to dance. Darling, it's not presidential. She actually said, could you imagine FDR dancing? She said that to me. And I said, there's a long history that perhaps she doesn't know. Because he was an elegant fellow, even as a Democrat, right? He was the attack by Japan, you know, he was quite elegant. But he wouldn't be doing this. But nor would too many others. But she says, darling, please, the weightlifting is terrible. And I have to say this, the dancing they really like. She said, they don't like it, they're just being nice to you. I said, that's not right. The place goes crazy. They're screaming, dance, please. But the weightlifting, but no, the girl gets up. And you see, I want to be more, but I have somebody watching. I want to be more effusive. I want to really, yeah. But she gets it, and drops the thing, walks off the stage crying. Her mother's crying, her father's crying. Guy gets up. He said, have you lifted before? A little bit. And he walks up, bing. He could have gone ding, 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 ding. I think it was 112 pounds, right? It's crazy. Or the beautiful boxer, they have boxing now, and that they have a young gentleman who transitioned, who's a very good boxer, but he wanted to be a woman, which is, you know, to each his own. Because I want to be very liberal when it comes to these subjects. I'm trying to get that vote. It's not an easy vote to get. It's very tough for me to get it. But he transitioned, and he transitioned, and the girl was a champion boxer from Italy, remember? She got up, first round, he hit her, boom, with a left. A left, for those, everybody here knows about, but a left, Lisa knows better than anybody, but a left is defense. He goes, boom. She's like, oh my, she walked to the corner, remember? She didn't go down, but she did everything else. But she said, I've never been hit like that before. I don't want to go out again. You can do it. You can do it. Bang. She walked off. She said, he happened to win the gold medal, that young woman. He won the gold medal. There were two transition people. They both won gold medals. The whole thing is ridiculous. You have policy on your side. They don't have policy on your side. But you have policy. And I saw this guy fighting like hell. The swimming records is ridiculous when you look at the swimming, any records. It's crazy. And it's so demeaning to women. Women are the, you know, and for a long time, they refused to talk about it. They were embarrassed to talk about it. Now they do talk about it. They talk about it openly. But they have the worst policy on everything, open borders. We want open borders. You know, they still want an open border. We did the greatest job ever on borders. And, you know, I think they forgot it. My guy said to me today, I have a great guy, Ross. He's the greatest speechwriter. He said, sir, let's not mention the border. Nobody cares about the border anymore. Can you believe it? This was the biggest, this was the biggest thing there was. It says to me, nobody cares about the border because it has a shelf life. I fixed the border. I fixed it in my first term, but now I really had to fix it. It was much worse, you know, when I came into office. Millions and millions of people were pouring into our country. And I fixed it, and my guy, who's incredible, says, people don't want to hear it, sir. You've done that. The problem is people forget that I did it. They totally forget. They were talking about the other day, we don't like Donald Trump on this, we don't like Donald Trump on that. And somebody just out of the blue said, well, he did an unbelievable job. Who cares about that? They're saying, like, you know, that's been done. What do we do about that, Mike? Everything you do, it's almost like, what have you done lately is the way you have to run your life. In other words, I could have the most unbelievable 4 years, and I guess I'm not allowed to run. I'm not sure. Is there a little something out there that I'm not allowed to run? But let's assume I was allowed to run. I could have, there's going to be a constitutional movement. No, I could have the most unbelievable 4 years. Everything was great, but in the last week, I made a little slip up in something, and you lose the election. It's like, so we can't let them forget that we did such a great job on the border. By the way, Venezuela, everyone, they're marching in the streets. They love it, except in New York. I mean, where they find these people? These people, and they're not like, these people are a mess. I know it's not nice to say that. These people are a mess. Where do they find these people? They're the worst looking people I've ever seen. They got hats that are all frayed and all, they look like, they're all paid. They don't even know what they're talking. When the reporters don't interview them because they know that it's, you know, the press is so anti. It's hard to believe the press could be so anti because it's all common sense. You know, it's not, we're conservative, whatever. Doesn't matter. We're all common sense people. It's not even conservative. It's common sense. But the press has no credibility whatsoever. Think of it. I got 97% bad stories on one network, 93% on the other, and I won in a landslide. You know what that means? The press has no credibility. That's all it means. And we got to keep it that way. So I don't talk too much about the swimming, the weightlifting, the boxing. I don't talk about it. You know why? I want to start bringing it up about a week before the election because I don't want them to correct themselves. I don't want them to say, you know, we've decided that we don't want to have men playing in women's sports. That'd be a devastating blow for us. Because that's, you know, they say it's an 80-20. No. It's about a 98-2 issue. We've decided that we will not have open borders where the entire world, from the Congo, prisons from the Congo, these are extraordinarily tough people. These are people that make our motorcycle gangs look like fine young men. Okay? Our motorcycle gangs are wonderful people by comparison. No, they come in from prisons in the Congo. They come in from prisons from all over the world, but in particular Venezuela. Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua comes in, and Tren de Aragua, they say it's the worst gang in the world. It makes our gangs look like little sweethearts. It makes our gangs, you want to take them out to dinner, they're so nice. They cut off the fingers of people. One guy makes a phone call in Colorado. The governor stinks in Colorado. He's no control. So Tren de Aragua, they don't want to do anything about it. So ICE has to go in and take them out because the governor doesn't want to do anything. But they make a phone call. They've taken over my building. The landlord's calling. They took over his building. So the governor doesn't want to do anything. But he calls the police. The guy, they come in. Did you call the police? This is Tren de Aragua. We're talking to the man that owns the building. Did you call the police? Yeah. Boom, they cut off his fingers. If you call him again, the next time your hand comes off. Can you believe it? The guy's walking around, his fingers were cut off. And these are the animals that we're throwing the hell out of here. Washington, D.C. is now the safest city in the country. And you people know that better than anybody because you were, I mean, think of it. You're in Congress, you're respected people, you're afraid to walk outside. Washington, D.C. Now, we had a terror attack 4 weeks ago. And one person's looking down from heaven, and the other one is actually recuperating and going to make it, I think, but really badly hurt. Really badly hurt. Most positive mother I've ever. No, my son's going to be fine, sir. The mother was telling me that the night of the attack, I went just like I went to you. I spoke to this incredible woman. Sir, everyone's praying for my son. He's going to be fine. The doctors thought she was, just hoping against hope. There was no chance. And 2 weeks ago, he got up and started walking around. It's amazing, actually. So maybe some really bad. It looks like he could be okay. He's going to have pretty bad after effects. But that was a terrorist attack on people that are doing a great job. And it could have been anywhere. But we haven't had a murder. We would have, on average, 2 murders a week in Washington. I don't even like talking about it. Two murders a week in Washington, D.C. We haven't had one in 7 months. People can walk out now. You can walk down with your wife down to the restaurants, which are booming, by the way. I mean, if you go back to before I got in, and we did a pretty good job 4 years ago, but there was never this, in my first term. So when we were during the first term, we were pretty good, but, it wasn't like that big of an issue. It became a big issue because people were being mugged all over the place. We had a couple of people working in the White House that were killed. We had one guy waiting for his wife in a car. They said, "Get out of your car." He said, "Well, I'm waiting for my wife." They blew his head off. The wife is walking up to the car. Animals. And then they get angry when I say, "They're animals." Nancy Pelosi, "They're not animals, they're human beings." No, they're not. This is another thing. That's a 98-2 issue also. No, they're animals, and we've taken them out. We've took out over 2,000 people, brought them back to their countries from where they came, or they're in prison now in Washington. Because it's not just like, you have to take the bad ones out. 2%, 3% of the population causes 90% of the crime. Think of it. 2% of the population in Washington, D.C. causes 90% of the crime. So when you get rid of the 2%, we took out over 2,000 people, got them out of the country or in prison. Some were so bad that we didn't want to send them back to their countries because they'll come back in, even though it's hard now, but they're pretty smart. They're sick, but they're smart. But you're now living in one of the safest cities in the country. It's a great thing. You can walk to the restaurants. Restaurants are booming. New restaurants are open. They were all closing. You wouldn't have had a restaurant. And I don't know about you, but to me, those soldiers standing there look so good. I'm not going to feel safe walking down the street without them. I don't think you would either. Even though, we took out so many criminals, I just feel better. To me, they're beautiful. I look at these soldiers. And you feel safe. You feel safe. I don't think if we took them out, even if the crime wasn't much, it would definitely be more. We did a great job in Chicago. They don't want to talk about it. We, against all this slob of a governor, this stupid slob, who's the family threw him out of the business. He was a dope, and the Pritzker family. But they threw him out of the business. And the mayor, he's a low IQ person, extremely low IQ. We should give everybody, like, these competency tests, right? The cognitive, they call it cognitive. I'm the only president that went for cognitives. I think every president and vice president should be forced to take cognitive exams, mental tests, like, are they intelligent? Wouldn't it be nice? Do you think Walz could pass a cognitive test, as an example? Do you think Kamala could? I don't think Gavin could. He's got a good line of crap, but other than that, he couldn't pass. I mean, here's a guy who didn't want to have water coming down from the Pacific Northwest. Why? They have a little tiny fish, this big, it's a little tiny fish, not doing well. You know why? No water. They're sending water. It's too much. It's killing the fish, so they cut it off. And then they have 25,000 houses burned down. They don't know why. No, I think, I believe in it. I'm the only one that took a cognitive test. I do it's the worst. If I don't do a medical exam, because I've had times where I went longer, because I'm busy. If I don't do a medical exam, they say, Trump's not doing an exam. There must be something wrong with him. If I do the exam, they say, why did he do this? Why did he do this part of an exam? He did too much. There's something wrong with him. Do you remember there was a period, Mike, where I had 32 days in a row. I did one press conference, 2, 3, sometimes 4. I do them behind the desk. I don't even just do it. I do press conferences. But I do many press conferences. So in 32 days, and then one day, just one day. This is 32 days in a row. Must be some kind of a crazy record. Then one day, do you remember I didn't do one? Because I took Kai, my very brilliant golfer, beautiful young lady who swings the club so beautifully. She's a great scratch golfer and loves playing. Grandpa, would you take me to play golf? So I ran, I play golf in record. I play speed golf. It's better that way. You know the expression? Miss it quick. No, I play speed golf. But I'm a good golfer. Everybody knows. Anybody that I've beaten in this group. But I love to play golf, but I don't get to play much. But I took off 2 hours, and the press couldn't find me. But they knew I was there because they follow me. And I was getting, are you okay? Guys are calling me up. Some of the guys in this room. Sir, are you okay? Yeah, what's the problem? There's a report, sir, that you're no longer with us. Remember that? No. The report was that I don't want to use the D word. It's such a horrible word. Dead. I don't like. There's a report, sir, that you're no longer with us. I said, well, I just hit a 280-yard drive. This isn't bad. And, it's one of the, and it took me a couple of weeks to get that one straightened out. The new one is they did a report in the fake news New York Times where I worked this day from early in the morning till late in the evening, but we don't give out a full schedule. It's like who the hell wants to give out a schedule to these people? But it's all work. And this, in particular, this day was brutal. I never got to leave the seat. You couldn't do anything. It was just one after another after another. And this went on from early in the morning till late in the evening. And my people gave out a report. He had lunch they show a report, lunch with somebody, and they did a story. Donald Trump is slowing down. He only had lunch. And then he went back up, and they said, that's malfeasance, whoever did, right? No, it's terrible. I was actually more angry with my people than I was with the New York Times. But they wrote a story, and it takes you a period of time to recover from these hits. And it's almost no matter what you do, but you have to keep a positive eye. But we have a fake press. We did a thing that's so incredible on medicine that nobody has ever done it. Reducing favored nations, most favored nations, we reduced the cost of medicine at levels that have never even been dreamt of before. We should win the elections on just that thing if we did nothing else and went home. Go home. We did favored nations where we're bringing down the price of a pill. As an example, in London, the pill sells for $10. In New York, it sells for $130. That's 13 times as much. Most favored is, I want to pay what the lowest nation in the world is paying. Everybody knew about it, but nobody had the guts or the stamina to do it, or the respect from other nations, but I do. And then you also had to get the drug companies. The drug companies were not easy, but they were much easier compared to the other nations. So the other nations used to tell the drug companies, we're not going to pay more. You kept it for years the same price. Everything, we just kept going up, up, up. And finally I had the drug companies, and I said, listen, fellas, you can't do this. Can't do it anymore. I'm not going to let it. We're going to do it, and you're not going to do it. And I did things to them that were brutal, but I really found out it was the nations that were so tough. So when France was told that the pill will go from $10 to $30, it's a big increase, right? But it's not really. And that ours would come down from $12 or $13 down to $30. So theirs would go from 10 to 20 or 30, and ours would go from $13 down to, meaning $130 down to 20 or 30. So it's a huge drop for us. Now, depending on the way you calculate it, it could be thousands of percent down. It could also be 90% and 80%. You know, there's two ways of calculating. I don't know if you know. They said Donald Trump exaggerated. Now, there are two ways of calculating it. But calculate it at 80, 90%. But the other way is more accurate, like 900%, because that's what it really is. But there are two ways, but use, to be generous, 90%. There hasn't been a reduction in 28 years, except for the 1 year where I got it down 0.25%, and I had a news conference. I was so proud of myself. The drug prices, prescription drugs, are going to be down by thousands of points. Thousands. On that one item, you should win this election. The New York Times barely wrote about it. The other papers barely wrote about it. Nobody even knows that the drug prices. Now, people will say, you don't mind if I don't read this crazy teleprompter, do you? Because, do you mind? Because I have, it's called standard. But these things are so important because you guys got to get elected. Because if you don't get elected, we have a country that's going to go to hell. So we can't play games. Ladies and gentlemen, the sun will rise tomorrow, and when it rises, we don't need this bullshit. We need to talk about favored nations. And your numbers are coming down at levels that nobody's ever seen. We inherited high prices. We inherited a mess. We inherited the greatest inflation in history. And you know what was knocking it down? The bad economy that we inherited. We inherited bad. We now have the hottest economy in the history of our country. We have $18 trillion being invested in the United States. You have, every one of you have car plants, AI plants, plants of all different types. Because of tariffs. I hope we get the good ruling from the Supreme Court. I only hope we do, because it's given us tremendous national security. So let me just finish up, because I weave. I love to weave. If you ever weave and don't come back to the point, then that's a problem. Then you say, But when you weave and you go here and boom, 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 always coming back, then you're in good shape. But what's happening is by doing what I did, we're getting numbers that are so low. But what did I do to the countries? I said, France, your health care for prescription drugs is going to go up triple. It's going from $10 a pill, just as an example. I call it the fat drug. You could say the fat drug, Ozempic. Ozempic is $80 in London, and it's $1,300 in New York. The fat drug. A friend of mine called me up. He said, what the hell is going on? A very rich guy, but I said, the fat drug doesn't work on you. Why are you even taking it? The drug has failed miserably, but he's a very loud, boisterous. He's not a bad guy, not a great guy. Smart as hell. But he's a very rich guy. This drug, he could have paid millions for it. It wouldn't have mattered. But he said, in London, I'm paying $80. In New York, I'm paying like many times more than that. What the hell is that? That's because of what's happened. Because the nations held us back. So the drug companies, I made a deal with them. You're going to do it? They said, whatever the nations agreed to. The nations were a bigger problem than the drug companies. So I said, you tell me they'll never agree, sir. I said, 100% they will. 100%. They said, sir, the smartest guy, Eli Lilly, Merck, Pfizer, all genius. They're all making numbers you wouldn't believe. The defense contractors are making more. That's why I'm going to say, you're making $45 million a year and you can't produce a frickin' helicopter for 7 years? We're going to talk to them about that. But I said to the France, I call up, as an example, France, just as an example, I like him, he's a nice guy. Emmanuel, you know Emmanuel Macron. I love the French accent. Emmanuel. They said, listen, you're going to have to raise your prices a little bit because we're paying 14 times more than you. That's a lot, right? We're paying numbers. In other words, we're making up for all of this deficit. No. I don't know that I will not be able to. Mr. President, please excuse me. Most of the people call me Mr. President, except for people that don't respect me. They call me Don, which there are probably a lot of them too. But they said, no. Putin calls me Mr. President. She calls me Mr. President. Emmanuel goes, no. We will not do that. Yes, you will, Emmanuel, 100%, because I was told they wouldn't do it. And this is, you can take Emmanuel and add up Hans, you can add up Ludwig, you can add every name in the book. It's all the same. The answer is no. We're not going to double our drug prices. Not for you or anybody else. I said, yes, you are, 100%. We are not going to do it. No, you don't understand. 100%. You're going to do it and you're going to like it. They go, I don't understand. I've told you 5 times, why do you keep saying you're going to do it? Because I'm always right about, Trump is right about everything, right? I said, the hat. Trump is right about it. I have been right about everything. Got to keep it going. Is there wood up here? Hold it. I always like to, just in case. Trump was right about everything. And I said, so you're going to do it, Emmanuel? No, I'm not. I said, okay, here's the story, Emmanuel. If on Monday you haven't agreed to every single thing that we want, I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything coming out of France, including your wines, your champagnes, and everything else. No, you cannot do that. I said, I can do that, and I will do that. Even for national security, I'll do that. But this is for medical security. And 100%. Now, let me explain. The tariff I'm imposing on you is 42 times more expensive than what I'm asking for you in return. So you can either have a 25% tariff added on to you, like I did with China on fentanyl. I put a 20% penalty tax on China, and it's drying up because the tax is far more than they make with fentanyl. But with the other nations, I said, you're going to do it. And you know what he said? You can't do that to me. I said, yes, I can. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be that bad. You just have to explain it to your people, your 39 million people, that, by the way, don't vote by mail. They vote on paper ballots. They tried voting by mail, and there was fraud all over the country. We're the only country that votes by mail, essentially. You know that, right? You know, Speaker, that's another thing. We're the only country that's stupid enough to vote by mail. Even Jimmy Carter's commission said don't do it. But just to finish so that you won't say he wanders, Emmanuel said to me, Donald, you have a deal. I would love to increase my prescription drug prices by 200% or whatever. I would love to do it. It would be such an honor. Whatever you want, Donald, please. Don't tell the population. Please, Donald, I beg you. Every country said the same thing. No, 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 we will not do this. Some were strong, some were very nice, some were rude. But they all said one thing, no, we won't. And within, I'd say on average, 3.2 minutes, they were all saying, we would be honored to quadruple our drug prices. So we would be honored to quadruple our prices if that's what you like. We want to make you happy. Okay. Therefore, I will not charge you a tariff, and you're going to increase your drug prices by 3 times what they were paying 2 days ago, right? And we have now favored nation. You think Biden could do that? I don't think so. Think Biden ever thought of it? Now, everybody's wanted favored nations, but everybody knew it was impossible to get the countries to agree to it because they wouldn't have done. And they've been doing this for 40 years or whatever it is. We were subsidizing the entire world. That's just one of the many things we're giving. But you should take that thing. That's going to save. Now, that also, when you add that to health care, your drug prices are much lower than what you projected. So we're going to reduce health care by a lot. One other thing. On health care, it's never been our issue. It should be our issue. We had a very nasty vote from a couple of people. I guess Collins, I guess Lisa Murkowski, and I guess a man named John McCain. Remember? Thumbs down. You remember. He said, I'm all for 10 years he campaigned. I don't want to be nasty, but for 10 years he campaigned on Obamacare. We're going to destroy Obamacare. We're not going to do it. And then we're going to terminate it. And then, it was a little surprising. We could have had health care, good health care. Obamacare is bad. And the people understand it's bad. And the premiums are horrible. But one thing I've learned a lot about healthcare. I found healthcare sort of like not of tremendous interest, but it was very important. And I made it of tremendous interest. So I made a statement a couple of months ago because I saw the numbers. I said, boy, because, I like to see what's going on. That's one of the reasons. By the way, we set an all-time record again today. We have the highest stock market in the history of our country by far, every single month. That's another thing you should camp. They like to demean that. The Democrats, well, that doesn't mean anything. That's just, no. That means jobs, and it means 401ks, because a lot of people have 401ks. And they have, hello, best lawyer in the room, the best, have 401ks, and they have 401ks like, I had a young policeman. I told this story twice, but it was the same thing. This was a recent case. I had a case years ago because I had a great economy. We had the greatest economy in history during my first term. My first term was a tremendous success. But again, nobody wants to talk about that. We rebuilt our military. We did things that nobody could have done. We did a great job. This term is blowing it away. It's blowing every term. There's never been a president that had a year like this, especially a starting year. And we should win based on that, too, all things. But the 401k, so there's a policeman, and he comes up, and he was guarding me along with lots of other people. Sir, I want to thank you. What? My wife thinks I am the worst investor in the world. And for the last year, she thinks now I'm Warren Buffett. She said, you're smarter than Warren Buffett. You're a better investor than Mr. Warren Buffett, sir. I said, how's your 401k? It's doubled. It's going up. It's going up. I said, just relax. But 401ks are through the roof. Those are us. Those are the people. We have the highest stock market in history. 47 days out of 11 months. We have just a piece of the last month left for the first year. 47 days out of 11 months, we hit a new record. Well, we hit one last night. We hit another one today, I understand. But we hit one last night, a new record, brand new record. All exchanges, not just, Dow was up, but all of them. We have another record, that's the 47th time in 11 months that we've hit an all-time high. And the future, because we have more money coming into our country than any country has ever had by far. The record was about $3 trillion many years ago by China. We've got $18 trillion pouring into our country. You know why? Because of tariffs. Because if they build a factory, they don't have to pay any tariff. But if they make it in another country and they send it in, they have a very big tariff to pay. So they can't pay that tariff. So what they do is they come in and they're building. By the way, this is what China did to us for many years. It's just reversing it. Other than we have a great product. We were losing our product now. Tell you what, if I had lost this election, if you had Kamala, it's the same thing, Joe and Kamala, I call them equals. If you had Kamala come in, I believe that our country would have been Venezuela on steroids. I used to say that during the campaign. If I don't win, we're going to have Venezuela. So we have 18 trillion coming in. I think we could hit 20 trillion by the time the year is up, right? It's less than 1 year, 18 trillion. The record is $3 trillion. $3 trillion is a lot of money. 18 trillion is not even thinkable. That's all investment. That's building factories. That's building plants. You know how many car factories we have? Half of you guys are having car factories where you are. Louisiana is doing great. Georgia, right next to you, is doing great. Hello. Nice guy. All nice people. Actually, in this room, I can't see it. Is there anybody I'm supposed to dislike in this room? I think that a couple of people maybe didn't show up. There's only one that I really dislike. I mean, the same person that Mike gave up on, because there's something wrong with him. He's a sick person. But there's only one, really. The others, you just have to understand them. They have some problems too. But you just have to sort of go with them and understand them, feel sorry for them, advise their family, are they okay? Because what we're doing is right. But $18 trillion, car plants being built. I was in Japan. Somebody admonished me, he shouldn't be traveling. I don't like to travel. But when I travel, I make a lot of money for the country, not for me. For me, I don't care. I have a much higher purpose. I have plenty of money. I don't need money. I don't want money. I want to make money for the country. And like I did with Intel. Intel came in. They had a problem. I said, I can solve the problem, but I think you should give the United States 10% of your company. He goes, whoa. I said, yeah, I think I can help you with the problem, but you got to give the United States, not me. Sometimes I'll say, give me, but when I say me, I'm talking about, I'd love to accept it, but I don't think that law enforcement would like that, right? I'm very cognizant of law enforcement, perhaps more than anybody in history. Actually, a friend of mine who's really smart said, you've got to be the most honest guy in history because you have been examined, your books, your records. I have a big business. Every record, I had these Democrats hired the biggest accounting firms, the biggest law firms, the biggest. I went through years of abuse. And here I am. They didn't find anything wrong. Remember? We want his tax returns for years. We want his. Finally, the Supreme Court, shockingly, I'm the only one. This couldn't happen to anybody else. You have to give your tax returns, right? I gave my tax returns. They're from here to here. It's a big business. It's a great business. And I built a great business, like much bigger and better than anyone even understands. But I gave my tax returns. They go from here to the ceiling practically. They got them. Headline, Trump to give tax returns. Supreme Court ruled I had to give my tax return. Can you believe it? Everyone said, you're not supposed to do that. And by fighting, they think you're trying to hide something. Naturally. I gave my tax returns. That's the last we ever heard. They hired the biggest accounting firm in the world, most powerful lawyers in the world. They spent millions and millions of dollars going over those returns. There hasn't been one story that I did anything wrong. So this friend of mine who's highly sophisticated, rich guy, smart guy, said there's nobody that I know that could have gone through an examination like that and not ended up in prison. Nobody ever had to suffer like I did. Nobody ever did that to anybody else. There was an expression, Andrew Jackson was the most abused president in the history of the United States. You know who second was? This before me. You know who second was? Abraham Lincoln. But he had a civil war, so we have to give him a pass. But Andrew Jackson was treated horribly. He was a great general and a good president. So bad that his wife died. His wife died. They were horrible. But I just saw a report came out the other day. I blow them away. He never got impeached twice. I got impeached twice on nothing. On a perfect phone call, remember? Perfect phone call. Tim Scott, who's a great guy, great, wonderful guy, South Carolina, straight guy, right? He is a good guy, good person. He's an honest person. He read a transcript. Thank goodness I had a transcript. Essentially, the call was taped because they tape calls. I didn't even know. So was that call taped? Yes, sir. I said, oh, well, bring it down. I don't even know. And we read the transcript. It was perfect. It was so good. I told Ukraine not to cheat. And if you see any cheating, report it to the Attorney General of the United States. That was my call. They said, he was trying to intimidate. All I said is, don't cheat. And we have a signed agreement that Ukraine can't cheat. You know that. It's the only country we have actually a signed. They violated the agreement many times, I would tell you. You'll find out. I was right about that, too. But nobody's gotten cheated. But this guy said to me, for you to have escaped. But the one thing, and I'll just end it, because Jim Jordan back there, world champion wrestler, 128-1. Whatever happened to the one guy? The Russian. He lost to, how dare you lose to a Russian? Do you know the more impressive record for Jim? Because I'm a big sports person. I love sports. Jim went to high school. As in high school, he was considered like the top wrestler. But he was undefeated in high school. Now, what that means is that as a freshman, he was beating seniors. Is that true? Were you actually undefeated? Seriously, were you undefeated in high school? That means as a freshman, he had to beat seniors, Steve. Nobody could, because there's such a difference between a freshman and a senior. To me, that's more impressive than anything. But I'm also impressed with his fight. Now we have to close the deal, Jim. We got to close the deal. Close that deal. So, I respect. I saw Jim, and the first time I met Jim, I looked at him, and I said, tough-looking guy. But I noticed the ears, they were a little rough. They were a little bit of a rough. Some people would say a little cauliflower on that ear. I said, Jim, have you wrestled before? Yes, I did. Where? Was it Ohio State? Something like, he was an All-American at Ohio State. I said, yeah, I could sort of tell. I look at the ears and I can sort of tell. But have you had plastic surgery on your ears, Jim? No? Because they look better now than they did the first time. They've healed over the years. They've healed. Actually, now you're wrestling with probably much tougher people, the radical left lunatics, right? But anyway, so I just want to leave it by this. I want to say that you are great people. We have all of the policy. We have wonderful. Just stay together. We got a few people that make life very difficult. They don't have that. I used to say they don't have a Mitt Romney in their midst. I mean, Mitt Romney was very difficult. He was almost like for them. He was on the Senate side. But we have a couple of people that are really bad. I mean, they're bad, but maybe they'll straighten out. Maybe somebody in the room can sit them down and straighten them out, because what we're doing is the right thing for the country. We're not Republican or Democrat. We're doing the right thing for the country. If you look at what we're trying to solve the health care problem. We're trying to get better health care at a lower price. I mean, that's a good thing, right? And the one thing I learned, and just in concluding, and I said it like a month and a half ago, and it was the number one thing in the country. Even the fake news covered it. They tried to put a negative spin on it, of course. I said, I read a story about insurance companies making a fortune. A fortune. Their stocks were up 1,700%. Who invested recently in a stock that's up 17? And that's because the money that they're getting from Obamacare is massive. And the government generally. That means they're making a fortune. And as soon as that, because I'm like, I have a natural, I don't want to say it again, but I have a natural business instinct. I do. I've always done things. I've done some things that people said you're crazy and I made a lot of money with. I've done a lot of things that were good. I have an instinct, right? Somebody said, he's got the best political instincts of any politician in 150 years. I said, no, I don't. I really don't believe I do. I think I have good instincts. I have common sense. But they said that it was a very complimentary statement, but I don't believe that's necessarily right. But I do have good policy. I have good common sense. And maybe they wheeled that into instincts. And I did become president, so can't be that bad. And I never did it before. Don't forget, I ran for president. I had a politician telling me very strongly, they said, sir, I've run for office 20 times and I've won 17. And I know what I'm talking about. This was at the very beginning of my first term. I said, well, I've only run once and I won, but I won for president. He said, you got me on that one. He's actually sitting in this room right now, that son of a gun. He knows who I'm talking about. He was giving me a hard time, but he's turned out to be a decent person. Not the best in the room, but a decent person. He's not my favorite in the room, but he's decent. But we have one thing that's really strong. Uh-oh, it's a fake news. Pulitzer Prize, right, Doug? Pulitzer Prize. He got one for the bullet. He had the bullet, but he got how many Pulitzer Prizes? 3 Pulitzer Prizes, and all talented guys. These are great guys. I don't like the people back there as well. These are the ones that take the pictures. Make me look thin for a change, Doug. You're making me look a little bit heavy. I'm not happy about it. But one thing I did see and find out in the last 2 months, when you tell the people that we want the money to be paid to the people so the people can buy their own health insurance and health care, it's like, and I just said it, and I said it because I read a story on the front page of a certain paper that I don't even mention because it's so stupid paper, it's so bad, it's gone so far off the Wall Street Journal, I don't mention it. I refuse to tell you that it's the Wall Street Journal. They've lost their way. This is not the Wall Street Journal of old. But I read a story on the Wall Street Journal, and it said that the insurance companies are making so much money. They weren't demeaning them or anything, and I guess as an investor, you're happy. When I read that, I said, wait a minute, they're making that kind of money, and they're making it because of stupid politicians, I hate to say, that we allow them to make it. If you guys can get in a room, because, we don't have that as one of our issues. It's the only thing they have. They're lousy at it. They came up with Obamacare. We tried to fight it. We almost had it won, but we didn't get 3 votes. We should have gotten them. But here's, you want to turn this thing, you work on favored nations, you work on borders, you work on all of the things that we talked about, but now you take the healthcare issue away from them, and they want to fight it. You know why? They're all owned by the insurance companies, and they cannot fight it successfully. There's nothing they can do. That's like almost the voter ID thing. When they try and fight, I watched a guy trying to explain why we shouldn't have voter ID the other day, and the guy was a fool. He looked like an idiot. This is the same kind of an issue. Let the money go in the healthcare account or however you do it. Let the money go directly to the people. Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something. You got to use ingenuity. You got to work. We're all big fans of everything, but you got to be flexible. You have to have flexibility. I came out with a statement. Let the money go not to the big fat cats in the insurance companies that made 1,700% over the last short period of time. Let the money go directly to the people where they can buy their own health care. And I'm not sure that I've ever said anything that was more impactful. You know, I say a lot of things and have a lot of good ideas. And this was an idea that, I mean, the whole world went crazy. The whole country went crazy. The world went crazy with envy. If you can somehow do that, Mr. Speaker, Tom, all of you, Steve, if you can do that, you're going to have, this is going to be your issue. And the other thing is fertilization. They're trying to hit us on fertilization. They were dead on fertilization when I got a call from a very wonderful young senator from Alabama saying they had just lost a case. And the case, I've never been met with such scorn. Friends of hers were just going crazy. And I said, explain the issue to me. And it was on IVF, the fertilization. A judge ruled against and said all fertilization places have to be closed down, like immediately. It would have been a disaster. And fortunately, I picked it up, and we owned the issue. But now I understand they're trying to make a case on fertilization. You can't let them do that. Very important issue. All of these issues are very important issues. But you can own health care. Figure it out. Let the money go directly to the people. It goes in a healthcare account. There are numerous things you can do, but you have to let no money for the insurance companies. You know, I'm going to meet with the insurance companies. I said, I'm going to meet with them because I met with the prescription drug companies. And that's when I found out what was going on with the fact that we were paying 10 and 13 and 14 times more money than Europe and other places. I learned that at the meeting. Now, I'm going to meet with them in a few days. I'm meeting with them all, 14 companies. I'm meeting with them all. I'm also meeting with oil companies. Let's go. You know what that's about. We've got a lot of oil to drill, which is going to bring down oil prices even further. But if you can come up with health care, remember this, where the money goes to the people, you have just owned, they can't fight it. They're owned by the insurance companies. You guys don't get money from the insurance companies. They do. They get a massive amount of money. It's their biggest donor. They're going to try and fight you, but they can't win the fight. If you explain it, the money goes directly to the people. That's going to be your issue. The other thing is energy. Your energy prices have come so far down since I'm president, and nobody wants to. I saw on television, energy prices are down 3%. No, they're not down 3%. They were $3.50 and $4. It's now $1.99 a gallon in many stations, and it's going down further. And that's like a massive tax cut. And that's the other thing, tax cuts. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Now think of this, no tax on tips, no tax for seniors on Social Security, no tax on overtime. You're allowed to deduct if you buy a car and you take out a loan on the car. For the first time ever, middle-income people, all people can deduct, but they never got a deduction before like this. It's only for rich people. They got them. They have so many deductions. You're allowed to deduct the interest against your taxes. Nobody thought it was possible. It's going to be phenomenal for the car companies, but it's even more phenomenal for the people. It's like getting it's like paying half for the car. All of these things, you have so much ammunition. All you have to do is sell it. Taxes. But the one thing, They know about the taxes. The great big, I call it the great big beautiful bill. I think it's even better. But the great big beautiful bill is just that. There are so many goodies in the bill, you have to get the word out because the people in the back of the room won't do it. That's why I love live television. Because they can't, well, sometimes they'll turn the camera off, but they're embarrassed when they do that. You know, if we're going too strong and doing too well, if the lights go off, you know you're doing well. If the lights are on, you got yourself a problem, okay? I see that little red light. That light goes on. If that light, that's bad, isn't it? If that light goes off, you know that you're doing a good job because you're fighting the Democrats and you're fighting the fake news. And it's amazing that they can be so stupid. And they don't have credibility anymore, and you can beat them. I mean, it's the old thing that, you know, never fight the news, but you have no choice because it's almost like they become radicalized. But you are fighting the news, but you can beat them. That's why I'm standing here. I mean, I had Kamala. I was beating Joe by 30 points, and then they changed him. That's like a fighter in the ring. He's losing, and they said, let's put somebody else in to take his place. Very unfair. They changed in the middle of the election. They said, he's going to lose, so let's give somebody else. And fortunately, she was just as bad as him. Probably slightly. I don't know. Would you say as bad or worse? Close. Pretty close. But it took 6 weeks. It was a honeymoon period. 6 weeks. It took 6 weeks to find out that she didn't have what it takes. But you got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things. They are mean and smart. But fortunately for you, they have horrible policy. They can be smart as can be. But when they want open borders, when they want, as I said, men and women's sports, when they want transgender for everyone, bring your kids in. We're going to change the sex of your child. Just send them our way. In some cases, like in Minnesota, they don't even tell the parents. Is that right? And nobody believes it when I say it. I think we have 6 states. Nobody, am I correct? Okay, Tom Emmer said yes, so. But it's true. Where the kid comes back, they keep the kid. They operate on the kid. They don't tell the parents. It's not believable. We have great, solid, common sense policy. They have horrendous policy. What they do is they stick together. They never have a no vote. They impeached me. I never knew I was going to be impeached. I get a phone call. You just got impeached. I said, what does that mean? It took them 10 minutes. They impeached the president who did a damn good job. I rebuilt our military, Space Force. I got everything. I did a lot. They impeached me for nothing, twice, for nothing. Fortunately, you were on our side, and we were unanimous. And the second time, the few people in this little group, like Rice and this, they're all gone. Every one of them is gone, except one that we're going to sort of let ride with. Some guy that has a state that you might as well just let him ride. But think of it, everyone's gone. Everyone's gone. It makes me feel so good. I don't want to feel vicious. But I'm so happy that everyone, and they're seriously gone too. They lost in landslides. This guy named Rice, he lost by 48 points, right? Remember him? Oh, no, there he is. What a job you did, Mr. Fry, Congressman Fry. I looked around for somebody. It's true, this was a good choice. We've made some bad choices too, because you have to do it. I said, who the hell can run against this guy Rice? It was a Trump plus 40 district. They had riots around his house that night. You know, he voted, I vote to impeach. And that night they had riots. So they said, who the hell? Just give me somebody. A warm body. And then, no, it has to be a living, breathing person. And then if I could get a genius, it would be good. And we got a guy who is so good, he's been, I think, are you happy with him? I think so. Stand up, bro. He's great. I said, where does he come from? He's like a senator, state senator or something. I said, all right. I spoke to him one time. I said, you're accepted. But little did I realize how good he was. You did a great job. You've done a great job, and the people love him. So he has done a great job. I just want to say this. I haven't read one word on this thing. Who the hell else could do this? And I think I gave you something. It's just a roadmap, and it's a roadmap to victory. You have so many good nuggets. You have to use them. If you can sell them, we're going to win. Because we've won 2 races in like 50 years. It's, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but just don't fight it. It doesn't make sense. There have been 2, and they were unusual circumstances. So whether it's a Republican or Democrat, whoever wins the presidency, the other party wins the midterm. And it doesn't make sense because we've had the most successful year probably in the history. They say, and now you add what happened essentially yesterday, we've had the most successful first year of any president in history. And it should be a positive. And make it a positive. So with that, I leave you. I do. And I started by saying I love you all, and I'll end by saying I love you. You're amazing people. What you do for this country is incredible. And thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that was President Trump wrapping up his remarks to House Republicans at a retreat at the Trump Kennedy Center. He is working with them to map out the year ahead.
All right, so here's what I think. You guys just watched. I'm looking at the time here. It looks like he spoke for almost an hour and a half, maybe a little bit less. And some of you may be wondering, maybe you don't wonder at all. Some of you may be wondering, what exactly did you just listen to? And if I had to break it down, he has to be nice. He has to have a bit of decorum as he's talking to these people, these House GOP people. And he's trying to get them to understand we win if you stop acting like jerks. If you stop fighting each other and stop trying to be the big person out there, come together as a team, as a unit. You know, one of the things I often have problems with, and I think President Trump just mentioned it a few times himself, and that is, as he mentioned, the Democrats are always unified. There is no fraying. There is nobody who's going off on their own. They are in lockstep. And the problem I have is we've mentioned this for some time. And one of the problems that we keep hearing from people in MAGA is that I have a mind. I have an opinion. I'm not just going to be a sycophant. If I got an opinion, I'm going to say it. That's the problem. That, in essence, is the problem. We are infiltrated with a whole bunch of people who feel the need to say what they have to say. Oh, it's my right as American. Sure, it is. It is absolutely your right as an American to say what you want to say and how you want to say it. But it's also not right. Again, I'm going to go back to a sports analogy. As the NFL season ended and college football season is about to end. Throughout since August, 5 months, we have seen teams go through their entire schedule. Some teams absolutely suck. Some teams win, and then some teams lost as they got to the championship round. And I'm going to bring up a team, not the Dolphins, but Baltimore and Pittsburgh played on Monday night, or Sunday night, and they got to the last second, and a rookie kicker could have won the game. He did well all year long, and he shanked this field goal, and Pittsburgh ended up winning. Every man on the Baltimore Ravens had the opportunity and the right to say you blew the game. What you just did there sucked. I can't believe you did that. Every single person on that team had the absolute right to say that. Nobody can tell them they don't have the right to say that guy sucked. but they realize they're a team. And teams don't do that in public. They could have went in the locker room. They could have got back there before they got in the shower and said, "You piece of crap. We've been fighting since July. I've been training, I've been running, I've been lifting weights, I've been doing all the right things, and you blew it for us." But that gets said in the locker room. That won't get said in public. It won't get said in the media. That's the difference between being a unified group and a bunch of people seeking headlines and feeling their opinion matters more than what the president is doing. That's the problem with the right now, is you can see it all over the place. And I challenge you. You want to prove me wrong? Start finding Democrats, even people who aren't politicians, talking crap about the Democrat Party. All of their energy, 100% of their energy, as bad as these people are, as scumbags as they are, is focused on defeating Republicans. Tim Walz gets accused of being in on or complicit of a huge amount of fraud in the state of Minnesota. He's going to drop his campaign. And what did he say when he canceled his campaign? It's Trump's fault. It's their fault. They did it. They are trying to cause other problems. He didn't name a single person in his administration or in that party as being at fault, because they, for some reason, understand the face of unity. Just like any good team, any well-oiled team understands you can be pissed as hell, but you don't let them see it. I remember there was a deodorant campaign that ran its campaign, its marketing for years. Never let them see you sweat. So you need to tell me on the right, why is it that everybody needs to let everybody know they're sweating? All of them. Pollsters, panicans, everybody needs to feel like they need to question every single thing in public. Say, prove me I'm wrong. Why is that? Why is it that they need, there's an inherent need to go out there and talk shit about President Trump, the administration, what he's doing, how he should be doing this. Why? What's that do for you? Well, it gets you clicks. Gets people maybe thinking you're better than other MAGA because, we don't need to hate you. You're actually calling him out. But what's it do for the country? See, that's where you can start drawing the line with people. Maybe you even direct message them and say, hey, you realize it's not Trump you're hurting. It's not MAGA that you're hurting. You're leading to the destruction of America. You're not helping. If you're not helping, then you are hurting. Many of us have laughed at Harry Sisson. We laugh at what he says. No, my God, this guy's such a pain in the butt. Blah, blah, blah. Never going to say anything negative about whoever it is that's running, that's a Democrat. Never. 100%. How did they learn that lesson that the Republican side can't learn? And it drives me absolutely batty when I hear people say stupid shit like, well, I can say what I want. I'm an American. I can voice my opinion. Then you're not doing it right. There's only one way to voice your opinion correctly. Vote. Oh, you don't like that, huh? Barry, I can't be a sycophant. I got to be true to myself. Well, be true to yourself. Why do other people have to hear it? Right now, you can go on X and you can see people who call themselves Republicans, who call themselves conservatives, have all kinds of negative things to say about conservatives or Donald Trump. Those are the people we need to be calling out. Those people who are going against the family. If you ever watch any of the mob movies, especially The Godfather, everything I'm saying is inherently an attribute of tight-knit units. Never go against the family in public. You don't speak against the family. As Don Corleone said, I never want to hear you talk about the family like that. And that's, you portray a unified front. President Trump just spent an hour trying to talk to these people in the audience going, I understand you may have political ambitions. You won't have any. If you read between the lines, what he was trying to tell them is if you don't get unified, if you don't come together and you lose the midterms, well, they're going to impeach me, which some of you guys are probably going to be okay, but you're not going to do anything either. They're going to come for you. They're going to come for you. They're going to come for me if we don't put up a unified front. And for some reason, I don't know if it's because we have an older audience, we have people here like, I can say what I want. What good is it? You're speaking to people who are on your team. We're the ones who are trying to help pull America together and help it survive. Your negative Nelly comments don't do anything to help us. It makes you look like a Democrat. You wouldn't do it to your wife in public. You wouldn't go to a restaurant and look at your wife and go, that's the ugliest damn dress I've ever seen. What the hell were you thinking coming out in public looking like that? No, if you don't like the dress and you think you're badass, you might say it to your wife in private, but then you're not going to end up going to dinner. So I don't know about that. Honey, you look great. So you learn that after being married 32 years. Honey, that shirt doesn't look good. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. You look great. And I love when they, ask you, how do I look in this? You look fantastic. You will always look fantastic. That's the answer. You ready to go, honey? Let's go. That's what we should be doing. You may want to talk amongst your friends. I can't understand why Trump did that. It doesn't really make much sense to me. But if you get out in the barbershop, hey, Trump, yeah, he did a great job. That's all we should be hearing from people. You don't like it? Too bad. That's what he was trying to say. I'm going to go through quickly some of the other things he said. Stay together. He said that a couple times. Unity, he kept saying that over and over. And he did it with a smile. He was in a good mood. He's not at the chastising stage yet. He smiled, he told funny stories and yada, yada, yada. And he weaved in some things to kind of warn them. Yeah, they took all my tax returns. The Supreme Court said I had to give it to them. And they went through everything. And the guy, my friend, said I'm one of the most honest people out there. And they couldn't find anything on me. Any other person out there, they might be in jail. You get the hint? If they're coming for you, they know your vulnerabilities. They know you've cheated on your taxes. They know you've done certain things. If they need to get rid of you, that's all they're going to have to do. And now they have a Supreme Court decision that says, yeah, you got to give up your tax returns. So at that point, Mr. Fred, Mr. John, Mr. Mike, expect it. Somebody will say, let's find out if they've been honest. Oh, yeah, they'll start digging. And then you're going to go to jail. And they will smile as they turn the key and lock your ass up. What's up? Also, voter ID. He let him know, we got to have voter ID. You've got to make sure you kill the filibuster and do voter ID. Do you want to win? I've never been in a locker room where a coach said, are you prepared to do what's necessary to win? But then say, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. No, we got to do this. We have to execute. What's our game plan? We got to make this happen. And then you get out there and do it. You don't sit there and play around with it. Hey, we need to nuke the filibuster because we got to make sure that things are fair and that we do voter ID and stop this ballot crap. You guys all understand that, right? Well, then do it. And then your part is to make sure that they follow up on that they all understand that's what they need to be doing. I can tell you right now, the news isn't talking about it. They're not trying to reinforce the message. You are gonna have to reinforce this message. Also, he even gave them the game plan. He said favored nations. Why aren't you guys talking about that, besides the fact that probably a bunch of you don't understand what it means? How do you expect the people in your communities to understand what favored nations does for them if you're not openly telling them? There may be people in the chat right now who don't know what favored nation status means. So he comedically wove that story in. I got a big fat friend and he went to Europe and he was able to buy the fat drug over there. And it was like $1,000 cheaper over there than to buy it here. I said to him, why do you buy it there? Because you guys can't get the drug prices down. Oh, but we're doing favored nations so he can get the fat drug here too. It ain't going to work on him because he's too fat. He joked about it, but what he was telling them is, you're not telling people what favored nations does. And which I turn around and go, are you telling people what favored nations means? He talked about the borders, which obviously we all see, but the media never talks about. So again, here's your platform. We have favored nations. We also have nobody coming in here. The borders are closed. We also have fertilization rights, which I don't know anything about the fertilization in vitro, I guess he's talking about. And then do something about the frickin' healthcare. We have a plan. My plan is to give money back to the people so that they can do what they need to do. Why aren't you talking about that? Well, every time you turn on the news and they say, what's the Republican plan for healthcare? No, it's to give the people the money themselves. And I'm going to wrap this part up because it had to have been mentioned for a reason, because this guy is a very intentional speaker. Notice almost at the end what he brought up, almost with a wink saying, I'm giving you a chance. There's only been 2 presidents in history. And he didn't say the words, but he was giving them basically the wink wink. Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln. I'm still holding that card in my pocket. I'm hoping I don't have to use it. It depends on you. If you guys need to get out there and get this filibuster broken, you need to do what you need to do. You need to talk about it. You need to get united. But I got this thing in my pocket right here. I've got it right here. Yeah, you know that guy Andrew Jackson, right? Yeah, I got it right here. Please don't make me go there. I'm asking you, please. Because if I go there, it's going to be bad for a lot of people. It's going to make the city safe. We're going to clean some stuff up, but I shouldn't have to use this. I have the House, I have the Senate, I have the Supreme Court. For some reason, you people are sitting on your butts, not getting stuff done. All you got to do is your job. That's all you got to do. I'm not asking you for anything more than your job. You want to save America? Stay off Fox, stay off television, nuke the filibuster, and get it done before the midterms, or I'm going to have to use this card. So that's the stuff I heard in that speech. And I listened as he, rambled here and he joked there and he talked about Jim Jordan's ears and he was being very affable. But the message inside, if I took it this way, because I'm jotting down the points when he would hit the point, unity, stay together, be honest, voter ID, taxes, Andrew Jackson, tariffs, favored nations, borders, healthcare. That's the menu. That is your game plan. Go frickin' execute on it. Don't let them dictate to you how you're going to perform. Again, back to a football analogy, you never want the defense to tell you how you're going to win. You put together an offensive game plan, and if your offensive game plan works, if you actually do everything, the front line, the wide receivers, the quarterback, which Dolphins don't have one, If everybody plays to the best of their ability, and he actually said this, they can't stop you. They can't stop you if you just perform. That's all you got to do. Nobody's asking you to do anything Herculean. Just do your friggin' jobs. You've got the ability. You've got the upper hand. You've got the better team. How many times did he say, they got nothing? This shouldn't even be a fair fight. They got nothing. He even talked about, they asked some guy something, and they got these signs. And he made fun. He's like, you're letting them compete with you. We're letting them compete with us. I'm talking about people on X, everything. You're letting them compete. At this point, ignore the other people and help the people who need the help. Explain to them what we need to explain. Stop trying to have conversations with Democrats and rhinos and panicants. Let them fend for themselves. Let the word get out to everybody else. I don't know. Maybe I just take things a certain way. But I think that's important. I think it's important for us to realize where we are right now as a country. And, sometimes just because you have the ability to say something doesn't mean you should. Every single one of you married guys knows exactly what I'm talking about. And every single married woman knows too. Maybe I shouldn't tell him he needs a shower. Maybe he'll understand it. Maybe I shouldn't tell her that dress doesn't look good. I could. I really could. I could tell her that in public. It ain't gonna work out. So at this point, your job moving forward as an American who wants to save this country is shut the F up about Pam Bondi. Shut the F up about Kash Patel. Shut the F up about Epstein and promote the things that he wants promoted. That's going to be hard for some people. But then again, it's going to be harder if they get back in control. You make your choices accordingly. You can decide either to play ball or go sit on a bench and sulk. In any event, you're going to get the result that you play for. And I know this might seem hard to saying to somebody to shut the F up, but at this point, if you were in my huddle and you were complaining, and we got 35 seconds to run this play, and you're like, I don't want to, shut up. We're going to run this play, and you're going to do it the best of your ability, or get the hell off the field. That's your choices. Nobody else wants to hear you whine and bitch and moan about Epstein and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. Nobody cares. You're either in it to win it or you're not in it at all. That's bottom line. That's all I got to say about that. All right, so let me stop before I piss too many people off. Just want to let you know, while he was talking, we got some major news happening. I mean, absolutely major news, and I want to share it with you real quick here. While he was talking, obviously he didn't know, he couldn't see, but silver is going off the charts. I mean, we just broke, and this is real time, so you can see it. We're at over $80 an ounce. I put up the banner while he was talking, and this is just absolutely crazy what's going on in the silver market. I know I've been talking about Lear Capital for quite some time, but if you go back and see, when was I talking about Lear Capital and buying silver and gold? The price was much different. So where's the ceiling of this? I don't know. I don't know where the ceiling is, but do I think it's too late? No, because when you look at here, I got to click it over here. When you look at where things are, that's in the past year 163%. I mean, that's if you look at where the graph is, that graph over time is literally vertical. It's like almost straight up. Is $80 too expensive? Not if it gets to 100. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can read a chart. I can definitely read a chart. I can read a trend line. Let me shrink this so I can show you the entirety of the trend line. See if I can get it to come up. There we go. There's your trend line over the last 12 months. I can read a trend line. Can it go down? Sure. But your basis point is always going to be protected. And again, silver isn't so much a speculative investment as it is a hedge. It has turned into quite the profitable investment, but that's not why I got into it. But it all depends on what you want.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe. And relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. You know, I know some people in this audience are a little bit older, and I see comments like this. Let me put this up. What goes up must come down. Nobody's going to be able to help you if that's the mentality going in, because then you're going to say at 100, oh, it could come down. Oh, at 90, it could come down. Meanwhile, you weren't around when it was 25 and 30. When it was 30 and you know, where it is now, where people have made nearly triple their money, even though it wasn't meant to be speculative. It was meant to just in case, just have it there. You see, there's one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand about gold and silver, obviously, is that gold and silver will never be worth zero. If you know that the basis point for gold and silver is that it can never be worth zero, which is not the same for a dollar bill. That's the difference in mindset, is where do you want to be 5, 10 years from now? Where do you think things are going to be? If every day and you hear the president talk about AI can't work without a whole bunch of silver. So much of what this country is working on can't be done without some of these metals, i.e., can it go down? Yes. Well, why would I wait to get hit by a bus? I'm still going to get on a bus if I got to get someplace. Enough preaching about that. You guys can do what you want. Speaking of preaching, I got a couple of things I want to show you before we go. This one's hilarious. You are going to laugh your asses off at this one.
Faith leaders gathered with community members outside of Trump Tower this morning to protest property tax hikes. They're calling those hikes a modern-day land grab that's devastating the west and south side. They met at Trump Tower because they say that building's property taxes were reduced, while people living in West Garfield Park in North Lawndale saw their taxes go up.
Do they not realize the Democrats in charge did that? That's not a federal thing. They are so stupid. And this is why when Trump's like, they got nothing. They literally have nothing. It's embarrassing. They're complaining that their taxes are going up while Trump Tower's taxes have been reduced. And the whole time they're saying that, they're actually going up against Brandon Johnson and Pritzker. They're the ones who did it, not Trump. That's how bad things are.
As high as 133%. They are condemning the Cook County assessor and the Board of Review for what they call targeted property tax hikes on poor and working class families. Faith leaders say this is a moral crisis, not just a financial problem, and they will not back down.
Because for those of us in places like West Garfield Park with a 133% increase, Lawndale with a 99% increase, Inglewood with an 80% increase, and a 39% reduction for Donald Trump. And so clearly, Donald Trump gets the tax break, and on the west side, we get the tax bill.
Remember the song? Here's your sign. You are an absolute moron. You people, you embarrass me as a black man that you're protesting in front of Donald Trump's building while Brandon Johnson and the Democrats are the ones who put the policy into effect. When are you going to realize they're not playing for you, bro? It's pretty obvious you have no clue what these people are doing. For you to be protesting in front of Donald Trump's building in Chicago because your property taxes went up and you don't even understand that it's your local government that did it to you. Man, talk about messaging. When the Democrats can do some sort of Vulcan mind meld on people where they don't even understand that they're the ones screwing them. That they're going to, instead of doing it in front of City Hall and say, you know, the guys here in City Hall, they did it to us. You're standing in front of Trump's building. And all of you standing there just like have no freaking clue. They've got nothing. This should be a layup. We should be able to win this we should be able to have a landslide. They've got nothing. I got to further with this story here, not this story, but now I want to show you something about Greenland.
Jeff Landry, he's a U.S. Special Envoy to Greenland, working with the president on a plan to acquire the territory. And good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks for joining us on set. At first glance and knee-jerk reactions, I understand sort of the, I don't know what you would call it, sort of the surprise or chagrin or when you talk about in this day and age, any type of what is perceived to be imperialism or I mean, the world ran like this for centuries with countries exerting their influence all around the world, seizing territories. We just don't think that it's done anymore. Is President Trump ready to actually seize Greenland? And would that be okay?
No, I don't think he is. I don't think that's what he's talking about. And I can't wait to have discussions with Greenlanders about the opportunities that we can do in Louisiana. Look, we got great things happening in Louisiana. We got great things happening in the United States. I think the president is extremely committed to the Monroe Doctrine. It's something that has eroded. We look at what Venezuela has done in the amount of drugs that have come into the United States and the families that have been affected and wrecked by the narco trade since the 90s. He's the first president to finally do something real about the war on drugs. Again, I think that solidifying the Western Hemisphere is good for the United States and good for the states that are in the United States, like Louisiana. And
I keep hearing them talk about and say the word hemisphere. You know what? During this next piece, I'm probably going to pull up hemisphere on Google Trends and actually show you what I mean, how Nobody talked about it. And I was so proud of you guys yesterday when I said, do you know what the Western Hemisphere is? Have you remember being taught? And people actually went and looked it up and went, oh my gosh, it's half the world. It's semi-world domination, as I said. And now we're seeing, even the guy from CNBC, the problem is the nuance. Younger people have not realized that's how countries came into existence. There was the Roman Empire. There was the British Empire. Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. He took over America. There was people already here when he planted the flag. And I'm not one of those people who says stolen land. I'm saying Christopher Columbus discovered America. That's because it's America. I don't know what it was before he came over here with Amerigo Vespucci. Wow, can't believe I remember Amerigo Vespucci. But I do remember the Roman Empire. I do remember the British Empire. I do remember people conquering places and expanding in that realm. It is only in the modern times that we have not allowed men to be men, to plant the flag. I mean, we all do it individually. We buy our property. We have our section, and they're trying to take that away from us. They are trying to emasculate everything about Western culture. You don't need to own property. No, that's bad. Everybody should have the collective. The whole collective should be out here. Nobody deserves to have more than somebody else. You don't know history. So I don't think we're going to seize Greenland, but we're talking to Greenland and saying it might be better for you to join our team. We can protect you. We can help you prosper. We can help you be a productive part of this hemisphere. Denmark can't come. When's the last time you heard of Denmark kicking somebody's ass? No. If the other guys want to go pick on you, wouldn't you rather be with us? Canada, I mean, I've seen air shows. They do have nice airplanes, but I don't know when's the last time Canada had to put up a big fight. Wouldn't you want to have, be under the auspices of the dominating team? I'm no longer going to apologize for having masculinity. I am never going to even look at people who say, you shouldn't impose your will. I was taught from a young age to impose my will. That term was said to me over and over. I had to actually unlearn imposing my will. I was too big. They're like, you just can't do these kind of things anymore. Well, what do you mean? Every time I wanted something, I just took it. I never stood. You want to hear a really assholey thing? I never stood in line. If I went to a movie or went to go someplace and there was a line, I just walked up to the front of the line and just inserted myself. And if somebody said something, I just turned around and looked at them. And they quickly just, oh, okay. I know that's bad. I remember I stopped doing it when I was with Robin one time. We pulled up to, I think it was a movie. And I'm like, she's like, the line's really long. I'm like, don't worry about the line. I stand in line. What do you mean? This is 32 years ago. I'm like, just follow me. And I just walked up to the front of the line and God, you impose yourself. Now, I don't mean to just do that anymore. I'm not like that. That was a bad thing. I know it was being a bully. I shouldn't do that. But, and there is a but, there's a part of that that's ingrained in us. There's a part of bullyism that is in every single man and some women. And we know that there's a switch that goes on when we have to become that bully. And so you can't take that out of somebody, which is what the Democrats are trying to do. They want pacifists. They want people who don't want to stand up for themselves. I'm over it. Done. And so in closing, not in closing, but this is funny. Okay, so you remember when Mondami said that he was briefed on the situation in Venezuela? Remember that? And people are like, you're full of crap. Ain't nobody briefing you on anything. And then yesterday you heard him talking about, we got to make tickets for the World Cup cheaper. Good luck. Well, some reporter actually called him out on, him saying he was briefed.
Clearance yet, and has anyone from a federal agency reached out to you or members of your team to begin the vetting to get federal security clearance?
That briefing, yes, was conducted by my team, and
You didn't say that. You said you had a briefing, implied that you called the president and vocalized your opinion, and now you're telling everybody, oh, that was my team. I don't give a shit about your team. How do you get briefed by your team? You and a couple of idiots sitting in a room. That's
question of federal security clearance is one that's ongoing.
You got completely called out. Oh my gosh, that's too much. That's too funny. I want to check something in case you guys ever. Hold on. Let me see if this shows up. I'm taking a second here and doing it myself as I ask you guys. All right, so I want you to see something, and I'm gonna do this over the last. Let me go last 12 months. Hold on. No, I can't do it. I can't break it out that way. I was gonna try and do a Google Trends on people looking at. Let me look at Monroe Doctrine. Let me see what that looks like. Okay. You're going to love this. I want to show you how bad this is in terms of people had no clue what President Trump was talking about. Let me see if I can pull it up here. All right. This website is called Google Trends. And with Google Trends, you can look on here and you can say, how have people searched over a period of time for a certain word? And oftentimes you can see what the conversation was like. So let me scroll down to the graph. This is the conversation on Google's Trends, the searches, in terms of how have people over the last 5 years searched the Monroe Doctrine. And as you can see, it's pretty much been a flat line. Nobody was searching it. And then all of a sudden you get to hear, and everybody wants to know about the Monroe Doctrine. Nobody was talking about it. Now you look on X, everybody's got an opinion about the Monroe Doctrine. Now, nobody was looking at this. This is how people who pontificate and try to come out there is that they're going to make an opinion on something when they themselves hadn't been looking at it. Like I said, I didn't even look at the Monroe Doctrine since a sophomore in high school. And now you got people who are posturing as though they're experts and nobody knew. They're just searching it now. What the hell is this Monroe Doctrine stuff? And so you can often see this kind of thing as you're hearing Western Hemisphere and words that like nobody talked like that. And then you can just search, yep, nobody talked like that. Now all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. It's straight up. It goes right to the top in terms of, and it's so evident that people are sheep. So at this point, that's where we need to, I believe, put our focus. We need to understand, we need to be educators. We need to get the conversation going in a certain way to support President Trump. To do anything but that detracts from his messaging, detracts from our ability to destroy and obliterate the deep state. Stop playing their game. Stop playing the game with people who are playing the game. It's nuts. Let's see here. History is trending. Good point. History is definitely trending. I didn't remember it until I heard about it now. Exactly. Can we change the subject from short people? Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. It's so funny in terms of what some of the stuff you said. Yeah, you reminded me. I didn't know it. Nope, I knew about it, but obviously nobody was paying attention to that stuff because it was, craziness. All right, so it's 12:18. I got the rest of the day, so I probably won't do a night show, but I'll probably wait and see what happens the rest of the day. And see, I mean, they say that Tim Walz has got a press conference coming up, which I don't care what he's got to say. And then we'll probably go live sometime, I'd say around 5 o'clock. But let's look. I haven't picked the time yet because I want to see what evolves here the rest of the day, who says what, and we'll have a show around 5. Won't do a night show, but I think we can safely say at this time we can do something around 5 o'clock. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, let me look at super chats, and then I'm going to go eat some lunch, and I hope you guys go have some lunch, and we can all reconvene here in a couple hours. And I just want to say to you, each and every one of you, I've always been quite opinionated, and I'm not here to insult anybody. I tell you how part of what I think what you guys like is my authenticity, and I don't like to hold things back. And so when I was telling people just stop with the whining and the crying and everything else, is because that's really how I feel. I've told Robin many times. She asked me, how you doing today, or how you doing this and that, and I go, it just gets to me. It really gets to me sometimes seeing people complain. And that goes back, I guess, to my football days, is I never associated with losers. And I never associated with whiners. And I never associated with complainers. In fact, I would lose friends because I can't rock with you. You're doing nothing. You're going to continue doing nothing. I'm going to go over here and learn what I can from this guy. I'm going to talk to this businessman as I got older. Everything. When I was training, I can't deal with you. I want to go, that guy over there, he's a good guy, can lift. I need to find out his secrets. I need to find out from somebody who's been there what they're doing. I've never gone hunting, believe it or not, never gone hunting. I don't like the idea of go sitting in the woods with something that might eat me. But if I was going to go hunting, Robin's brother is an avid hunter. Robin's cousin is an avid bear hunter. I don't know if I'm ready for no bear hunt, because I'm not even ready to go shoot a deer, but at least I could see myself going deer hunting. I ain't doing nothing with the bears. But if I was going to go hunting, I would want to go with somebody who knew what the hell they were doing. If I asked you and said, hey, have you ever been hunting? No. Want to try? Let's go get some guns and hang out in the woods. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with people who haven't succeeded or don't want to succeed. That's a big commitment I made to myself years ago, is always keep striving to do more. Every single day I get up and I'm like, here's what we're going to do. You don't think I'm tired? Last night getting off at midnight and then having dinner at 11:45 or whatever it was, and then seeing Trump posted something, I'll be live at 10 a.m. But I have to, because I get myself pumped to do that. And then when I see people have so much negative energy, I'm like, you wake up this way? I mean, seriously, do you wake up bitching about the Epstein list and Pam Bondi? Nobody wants to hear that. I don't even want to acknowledge it. That's why I never bring it up on a chat. If I see somebody in the chat, I don't even put it on the screen. Maybe it might come up automatically, but that's not me. There's a reason why I bought 8 of these shirts. I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to wonder, what am I going to wear today? Nope, they're in the closet. Which ones came back from the cleaners? Which ones are available? Put it on and don't even think about it. That's from Steve Jobs, by the way. See, if you're wondering about that mentality, hey man, SB calls it Shirtgate, and he's like, the Shirtgate started again, and I'm like, do none of you, or not none of you, but do some people not understand why Mark Zuckerberg, why certain people wear the same thing every single day? Go read up about Steve Jobs, and I remember when I read why he did it, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. That's what I'm going to do. And I got away from it. And then I worked for a billionaire, and he would show up in his same Lululemon shirt every single day. And I know he has money, so I know it's not the same shirt. And I'm like, dude, why do you wear the same Lululemon shirt every single day? And he said, and he actually repeated the Steve Jobs thing. I don't want to have to think about something so inconsequential. I've got so many things on my mind. I don't want to go have to stand in front of a closet and spend the time. Which am I going to wear today? Nope. Here's my Lululemon. Here's Barry's white and blue shirt. That's it. I only want to focus on what is going to help me perform. And that authenticity is, why I do what I do. So now you know the exact answer. I've said it before, but I'm not sure if people remembered or anything. All right, so let me do super chats, and then we can go collectivism, have some lunch. That's about the collectivism, a part that I'm all about there. I'd love to have lunch with people. Okay, what do we got here? Fazul, mom with the home hospice, Rosemarie in your prayers. Oh my, I didn't see that. Whoever it is, yes, you would be in our prayers. Fikowski got morning eyes. Could we buy some hats? I don't have to worry about hat hair because there ain't nothing under there. I got some under there. Oh, KRO, thank you very much for Bibles. Thank you, Barry, for spreading God's word. Just to let you know, I should have the website. That's what I'm going to, after lunch, I'm going to try and finish off the website. And then once I have the website up, we're going to put the link active again so you guys can request Bibles. Jimmy Lambert, Trump 2028. Would love to see that. Deanne Hobbs, I hope he makes them bring jobs back to Americans. Debbie Blank, I purchased silver a few months ago and recently heard that the government can take your silver at an extreme shortage. Have you heard this? No, they can't take your No, I don't know why some people say some of the crazy stuff they do. Be careful out there. Maximus, Barry Bichu and I would have got our mad squabbles on. Yeah, you sound like somebody kicking a door. I like guys that can kick in doors. Smiley, Barry, you are wrong about everything, says every Democrat. Yes, that's exactly what they would say. I understand that's what they would say. All right, everybody. I will see you sometime this afternoon. I will be posting it on X and, of course, posting it on YouTube. And then we'll take it from there this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in early this morning. And sorry about the Pete Hegseth time-saving video there. I didn't record that. That was actually how it sounded. Like he was like, yes, it sounds like he was in like a fish tank or something. You would think the Secretary of the Department of War would have a better sound, and he would know. I mean, whoever set the whole sound thing up, they completely failed him. All right, guys, and ladies, we'll see you this afternoon. Stay safe and enjoy your day.